Chapter 361. The platinum doors close behind me, and I look up at the skyscrapers towering over the outer city. These are the tall buildings visible from a distance, but it was hard to tell whether they were in this district or one deeper when I was in the Golden Walls. As I take a step forward onto the single moving walkway that begins to give me a tour around the city, I take in the view. Blue text boxes automatically pop up from my wristband, naming each tall building that passes. The buildings are mostly business centers and privately owned real estate. There are options to set up appointments on some, and others just display the name of the company that owns them, and I can see personalized guards outside each one. My stomach drops when I turn my first corner and see two guards in black armor standing in front of a skyscraper easily 40 stories tall. The guards look just like the Black Knights in the arena that told me not to continue to the 8th stage. This is the Royal Guard. I can't read any of their stats. They all have that appraisal blocking armor on. I slowly move past on the moving sidewalk, and the guards don't even bother to turn their heads my way, so I decide not to overthink it too much. As more privately owned buildings pass, it becomes more common to see anywhere from 2 to 8 royal guards standing outside each one. Depending on how many entrances there are and how extravagant they are, more guards stand on duty. Half of the buildings have silver knights that seem to be private security, and others just have businessmen out front, but upon closer inspection, the casually dressed hunters are of high levels. Mostly between level 350 and 450. It's possible anyone higher would be hired by the city, but that is only a theory. The further I travel around the slow-moving circle of the city, the more I get an understanding of the way things work. Before I know it, a building that looks unlike any other in this district comes into view. It has white marble pillars and a long staircase up to its front entrance. No more than 5 stories high, but in a wide concert hall-like shape that takes up the full corner of the block. I can see a few people walking up the steps and others loitering around at the top near the entrance. This is the first time I've seen anyone other than the guards in this district at all today. Out of curiosity, I wait for the moving stairway to bring me near and step off to make my way closer to the stairs. The moment I place a foot onto the first step, a ton of blue text boxes pop up from my wristband. Welcome to the Valor City Auction House. The morning auction will begin in 1 hour and 31 minutes. Would you like to reserve a seat? Yes. No. The midday auction will begin in 4 hours and 31 minutes. Would you like to reserve a seat? Yes. No. The nighttime auction will begin in 10 hours and 31 minutes. Would you like to reserve a seat? Yes. No. I X them all out and take a step back from the towering structure and decide to hop right back on the moving stairway. The auction house is the last place I want to be right now. From the lack of people in the area, it seems like the night showing is the more popular event. At least I know where it is for visual reference. I can attend here when I have more money to spare, or possibly something to sell. Everyone within these walls has over 1 platinum coin in their wristband ready to spend. I'm sure the high rollers in Valor City make Solaran bidders seem like lower-class citizens. I hop back on the moving sidewalk and recall the conversation last night I had with Max. He said the monastery is on the opposite side of the Platinum District to the auction house. Before making my way into the innermost walls, I might as well check the place out to see if it's worth investigating later or not. The moving walkway takes me past more of the tall silver towers that are built up high in the sky. Every few buildings that pass have a wide open road with small black arrows on it that curves off the central path and leads toward the inner walls. If I squint, I can see the tall black walls in the distance at these few open arena turning points, but everywhere else the buildings block out the view of any scenery. The closer into the walls I travel, the more compact the city becomes. Taking another half loop around the entire city on this moving walkway takes less than 20 minutes before I find the structure I've been searching for. The moving walkway stops in front of a wide open lot of land similar to the auction house. There's no tall skyscraper or extravagant temple like I was expecting. In reality, there's a small pyramid-shaped structure made of glossy black stone eerily similar to the coloring of the walls that I'm trying to reach. The structure has 4 sides and stands a few dozen meters tall. There's a small rectangular opening on the side facing the walkway that's ended at the side of the land lot. As I take a step forward to see if any status notifications pop up like the auction house, Two robed figures step out from the dark open doorway. I don't recognize either of them, but they wear the same orange clothing as Monk wore in the arena. Both of them have shaved heads and seem to be younger than me, or the same age as me at most. Sia's words earlier of her believing Monk lived here are starting to add up. I put a hand up in the air and wave, but get no response back. The two figures cross their arms and stare at me with indifferent gazes as I walk forward and use my appraisal and inspect skills. My eyes widen as not a single number or stat shows up in my status when I try to scan them. I activate enemy detection, and to my surprise, they do show up in this reading, not as a number, but as the presence of life, and that's it. The only other time something like this happened to me was when I used the skill on my teammates when they were trapped in mana-negating cuffs beneath the city of Solara. I stop my steps forward with a tightened gaze, examining the material this structure is made of more. Coming to the conclusion it is much different than the armor of the Royal Guard. After taking a deep breath, I finally speak up with the most friendly look on my face I can muster. I come in peace. I was the other fighter that made it to stage 7, just like Monk. There's no response from either of the young men that stand right inside the entrance. I think about taking another step forward, but it's clear they have no intent to engage with me and also don't wish to cause a problem. I'm the one making a commotion here. I let out a sigh after attempting to scan them and the structure 5 more times but fail to get any different results. No readings come back at all. I decide to turn around and leave. Well, I'll be heading off now, I guess. The reason I came is to ask your top fighter how he does that soul energy trick. I'd be happy to show him how mine works as well. With a shrug, I leave and step back onto the moving walkway. The moment the Black Pyramid gets out of my line of sight, the two figures that stood guard at the open door entrance turn around as well and walk back into the darkness. I stand in silence trying to wrap my mind around all the oddities that I've encountered recently as the sidewalk brings me to one of the roads that leads to the Royal Coins Gate. I hop off and start walking toward the enormous shadowy wall in the distance. My perception skills are on full blast, scanning everything in sight. Even the shimmering black wall that approaches falls under the gaze of my all-seeing eye. It gives off an odd energy signature similar to the armor of the 4 Black Knights that stand in front of the gate. All of their status windows pop up in my mind's eye, but are still scrambled by whatever powerful enchantment these armor sets have. I raise my wristband, and one of the knights takes a step forward to scan it with a tablet. A small red light reflects in the shine of its armor. Then it takes a step back and doesn't say a word. I gulp, thinking to myself if maybe that guard at the Golden Gates made a mistake with his math and the royal coin is really 100 platinum, or if there's another reason this isn't going as smoothly as I thought it would. Is there any reason I'm not allowed in? There's no response from the guards. On both sides of the Black Gate, 2 of them stand with silent professional stances. I wait a few seconds before asking again, looking down at my platinum wristband, then back up at the guards. Do I not have enough money? Are there some other requirements I haven't met? Still, not a single guard bats an eye. They all stare straight forward and pay me no mind as if I'm not even here. Chapter 362. I have to meet with the leader of the Galeheart Mercenary Guild. Please, tell me what requirements must be met for me to pass. I get no response. Eventually, I resort to waving my hands up and down as no words I say seem to make it through to the 4 royal guards standing outside the final inner wall. Without the gray mist activated, these black armored suits seem much less intimidating to me. I witnessed a few of them activate in the fight arena earlier, so I'm almost positive that these are the exact same armor suits worn by the prior Sector 2 leader. I let out a long sigh after standing in front of them for another few minutes. Then reach into my item storage and pull out the silver card with the Mercenary Guild address on it to show it to the closest guard's vision. I need to get here. I was invited. There are a few people I need to meet. Finally, I get a response, but it's not the one I was hoping for. The closest guard takes out his tablet again and turns it toward me, displaying the flashing red message that popped up before, but he didn't care to show me. User ID C number 129880. Unregistered. Royal Coin District access. Denied. Reason. No formal invite. An electronic static voice comes out of the man's helmet. It sounds just like the Sector 2 leaders did. The awkward pauses in between every phrase are replicated as well. Please, scan an ID with your full name and picture. You may be on the green light list. My eyes scan the tablet for a moment before I respond. I don't have an ID on me to share. He puts away the rectangular piece of technology again and takes a step back before looking forward off into the distance, not acknowledging my presence at all. To this guard, and the entire city, I am just an anonymous visitor. If the inner city is really invite-only, this explains why they're treating me like this. However, if I were to give them my real identity, that would open up a whole new box of issues I'm not interested in entertaining just yet. I'm supposed to be captured and dead to the world, along with my teammates handed in to the association. Showing my face inside a secure city filled with guards isn't the right thing to do, even if my name would get me inside the inner walls. Letting any rumor of my existence out might not end well. I nod and slowly back away from the guards, thinking over my predicament. There may be a way to get into the city without showing ID. I could build a reputation up in the fight arena or maybe start selling and buying very rare items in the auction house. Both of these will surely bring attention to me, but may have their downsides too. The biggest one being time. I don't know if my teammates really consensually followed the leader into this place and are just waiting for me to arrive, or if they're stuck behind these walls in trouble. Putting my index finger and thumb to my chin, I turn around and start to walk back to the moving walkway. This is going to be tougher than I imagined. I need to think. As I take a step on, a familiar voice sounds from nearby from the side of one of the unguarded buildings. I turn to see who it is as their words trail closer to me, following me onto the moving platform. What business do you have with the Galehart Mercenary Guild? Whose side are you really on? To my surprise, I see the fighter from the arena that I've been most curious about ever since I left that place. It's Monk. Gracefully and silently, he comes closer to me with eyes full of curiosity, but with movements not showing any malice at all. The orange attire he wears contrasts the dark gray tones of this portion of the city. He has a small backpack on now that he didn't wear while fighting. The man sticks out like a sore thumb, but somehow I didn't notice him until now. He must have been following me for quite a while. My first instinct is to do a full scan of his body and skills, but it instantly comes up the same with a level nearing 700, no skills or buffs, and oddly, still not a hint of mana in his entire being. I respond. There are some people I need to meet behind those walls. I don't work with the guild if that's what you're asking about. He crosses his arms and nods, staring off into the distance where we're headed, in the direction of the auction house. There's a pause for about 15 seconds where neither of us say a word, but I speak up. So I assume you heard my proposal before I left the monastery. You'd be interested in sharing techniques. His eyes look around up in the air and around the tall buildings. Then he brings an index finger to his lips. I let out a sigh and look around in a much slower and less careful manner on the verge of boredom. Just like everyone else in this city, he's acting sketchy too, like someone is watching or listening. Monk responds, "Come to my home, then we'll talk." Sure. I shrug and agree. We stand in silence for the rest of the walkway's ride, passing tons of skyscrapers, the auction house, and even the exit back into the Golden District before wrapping all the way back around to the black pyramid-like temple made of mana-negating stone. Once both of us step off the moving platform to make our way to the dark hallway, I spot two men in robes disappear into the darkness again after they make eye contact with Monk and bow. My perception skills are back on full blast as we get closer to the structure. I'm less than 3 steps behind Monk as he leads the way. Before I know it, I take a step onto the black stone material and enter the doorway. The moment I do, all of my skills cease to function. It feels just like the cuffs I had on that blocked all my skills. I don't feel tired or weak. I just can't sense or manipulate any mana in the air. Any and all mana from the city around us disappears from my mind's eye. Even the wristband around my arm powers down and returns back to its natural transparent state. I see Monk's wristband do the same, but he doesn't slow down his movements at all. The young man continues walking down the long dark hallway, and I question if it's a good idea to follow. Chapter 363. Rad 6 Phase 7E669454422B9 5CEC3A16399719. Display. None. I stopped my forward motion for a moment, looking back at the sunlight behind me. What is this place made of? I felt material like this before. It blocks me from using mana. Is this? Monk turns around and, placing a finger over his lips again, motions for me to walk further into the dark hallway. Hold your questions a little longer. I try to activate my status window to see if anything works, but the only two things that seem available to me right now are my demonic energy manipulation skill and my Red Hydra's rage buff. None of my items are giving me any buffs, and even my base stats from leveling up are negated completely. I feel just like I did in those cuffs a few weeks ago, weak like a normal human. However, the exit is near, and I'm not restrained. The fact that some skills that don't need mana to operate still function is a little bit of a relief too. I continue to follow him down the hallway. Whatever he can tell me would be the biggest lead I've had yet. So far, no one wants to say a word about this city. Even the legacy fighters were pretty tight-lipped while drunk, or they just didn't have the information I was looking for. We make it to the end of the single hall, and the two younger men that stood at the front of the open door previously now stand in front of a solid wall. It's the only thing this place leads to. They both step aside as Monk presses his hand on the black wall and pushes it forward. A white light pierces through the darkness on all edges as we step through and the door closes behind us. Fluorescent lighting that seems as though it's not powered by mana at all hangs from the ceiling, giving off a small amount of heat and filling the small room with light. The walls and floors are still made of the same black stone, but now I hear chatter from many people. The sound of music and even laughter sounds like it's coming from below me. The only thing in this small room is a handrail on both sides that leads to a hole in the floor spiraling downward with a narrow staircase. Monk doesn't slow down one bit. He just begins walking down the stairs and finally speaks. We're contained now, we may both talk freely. No one but us can hear or record us. I scrunch my eyebrows at this statement, and am about to ask who exactly we should be worried about here. But the sight in front of me as we take steps off the spiral staircase makes my eyes widen with awe. Easily 50 men, all between 18 and 30, are in a large open room underground. Every one of them wears the same orange clothing as Monk. There are about 24 circular tables, and many of them are eating food together, reading books, and sharing conversation. Half of them wear transparent wristbands, deactivated just like mine. Others don't even have wristbands on at all. There are many rectangular door-shaped slits in the walls all around the room that look like they could be pushed in just like the one Monk pushed forward to bring us down here. He walks forward through the crowds of people. Some of them stare at me for a moment but look over to Monk, and their expression changes. Most smile or bow as we walk by and go back to minding their own business. One very young man comes close and bows very low, speaking in a relaxed voice. Welcome back, Elder. Your travels have concluded faster than expected. Shall we continue midday training without you as scheduled? Or now that you're back, do you have other plans? Monk pauses and smiles at the younger teen, while I contemplate why he's calling a man no older than 25 an elder. He responds, stopping his steps and clasping his hands. Yes, continue training without me today. I believe I'll be busy with a private session for quite a while. He continues walking forward until we make it to the back of the room. The man in the orange robe places a hand on one of the rectangular doors and presses on it with an open palm to open it up again. This story has been stolen from Royal Road. If you read it on Amazon, please report it. Just like before, it opens slowly and another narrow hallway appears behind it. I follow him through and down the hall again before he turns to another door on the wall. This is the last one. Thank you for being patient with me. The door opens silently just like all the other ones, and we walk into what seems to be a training room. It's almost as large as the recreational dining hall we just passed, but this area is almost completely empty. On the left side, I see some wooden spears and metal weapons. Some of them look jet black as if they're crafted from the same stone this fortress is made of. By all the gear, there's a table and a few comfortable-looking chairs too. Monk walks over and sits down in one on the far side of the long wooden table. Please take a seat. I do as he says, sinking into the chair and looking out at the dark black open room dimly lit by the white lights surrounding the gear and over the entrance door. There's a long pause of silence before I break the awkwardness. I understand you've brought me here to be much more discreet and out of the eyes and ears of anyone listening. But why? What have you brought me here for? Is it the soul energy technique? Is it because I brought up the mercenary guild to those guards? Is it another reason? He looks at me with a curious yet indifferent expression again before responding. The simple answer is, I've come to ask for your help. Your soul energy is not your own, yet you're able to control it with ease to take down soul-bound opponents. It's power like this that may help us finally defeat our enemy. I raise an eyebrow, thinking very carefully about what he just said. This enemy is... who? The Galeheart Guild. He pauses again. The room is eerily silent. Yes, but no. The man you are trying to meet with, Lith Galeheart, is the reason we're in this situation to begin with, but he isn't my main concern. I gulp, but Monk continues. Technically, they're the ones we've opposed ever since they took our land and built this fortress on the mountain. But the Mercenary Guild is not the enemy I wish to ask for your help to defeat. If anything, they could be an ally in the battle that may unfold. There's another awkward pause of silence. Everything that was just said makes no sense. It seems like Monk knows much more about the inner workings of this place than any of the legacy fighters knew, so I might as well dig for more and give him some information about myself in return. From what I understand, Monk has no reason to harm me. He's the one asking me for help. I finally respond. I don't know much about this city, but I do know from talking with the legacy fighters that things have changed a lot over the last year or even a couple of months. Monk nods as I continue. I only came here originally to find my teammates. They're supposedly in the inner walls with the leader of the Mercenary Guild. I lean in and whisper under my breath. They're also able to wield the same soul energy, if that makes things any clearer for you. His eyes widen. He covers his mouth with his hand and thinks to himself for well over half a minute before responding again. If this is the case, I believe the guild leader already knows you're here and chose not to put your ID on the green list for the inner walls. Your showing in the arena made you a direct threat to our common enemy. Just like me, you have a target on your back, and Lith does not want to jeopardize whatever he's planning to publicly allow a soul energy user into the inner walls. I respond. So, who is the enemy? Chapter 364. Well, to explain this, I'll have to recall some events that go back about a year. I nod as Monk continues. My monastery here and the Galeheart Guild came to a reasonable agreement ages ago. They have overwhelming power in numbers, so in theory, they could wipe us out in a turf war, but many of their men would die as well. It would make us both too weak, and the land beneath our feet is far too valuable to leave us vulnerable to attack from a third party. We thought if we worked together, we'd be strong enough to keep anyone from attacking. So you have an alliance? More like an agreement. Monk stands up from his seat and starts pacing slowly along the back wall with the weapons lining it. Lith gives us work sometimes to farm or subjugate dungeons, and in return, he allows us to live rent-free in the city behind many layers of defenses. I nod slowly, sensing this isn't the root of the problem. Although many in our group resent this city, others are grateful that we still get to live peacefully as we once did in the changing world. Almost all the animosity has gone away, that is, until earlier this year when the Dark One attacked. My face lights up with curiosity. The Dark One? He nods and continues. Yes. Ever since the abyss in the center of the continent began to grow, many dungeons in the area have been breaking constantly. Every few weeks there's a new surge that needs to be taken care of. Monk's eyebrows scrunch and his jaw clenches as he says his next line. Usually, my team was more than enough to handle any breaks within 100 kilometers of this place. The population in Sector 1 is fairly spread out, and even though this is the capital, there aren't many people that stay for long as their money gets eaten up and they move back to the surrounding villages. So what happened? Was there a labyrinth break or something? There are no labyrinths in this sector, only a few very strong dungeons. We often code them with the Outer Continent's grading system. There are many C and B-class dungeons deep in the mountains, and quite a few that have formed beneath the city itself from constant tourism. This is how the arena we fought in earlier easily farms level 500 and higher monsters with ease. However, the day the A-class dungeon broke was the day we lost our freedom. Stolen novel. Please report. There's a long silent pause. Then I speak up. So what happened? Was there a break in the city? Everything seems fine to me. Someone must have handled it. Something handled it. There's another pause before he continues again. You remember that notification you received after defeating the stage 7 ghoul in the arena, right? I nod slowly as he keeps speaking. That's one of the monsters from the A-class break. In the almost year-long process of hunting them down, there have only been 114 defeated, including the one you killed in the arena. They cannot be killed with mana. None of my disciples are strong enough to take them on solo just yet. They need training outside the city or would have to fight in the arena like me. Allowing more attention to come on my people as the only soul energy users in this city would be a fatal move. My desperate attempt of fighting in the arena to slowly knock down their army is risky enough. This is why I ask for your help specifically. I stare at the man in the orange robe with another thought on my mind for a moment, then decide to let it out. These monsters are middle B class at best. How is this an A-class break? Wouldn't the Royal Guard just handle them? How do they keep them contained in the arena and let people fight them in the first place if they're so hard to defeat? Wouldn't it just be best to kill them as fast as possible once they're contained? Monk shakes his head. The ghouls are just a tool for the Dark One. That being is the true monster that came out from the break. It leads an army of 1,000 ghouls, and they follow its every order. It may be a monster, but it's highly intelligent. Smarter than any human by far. I never got the chance to fight the leader myself, but this may be a blessing in disguise. All the strongest elders before me with far more power were all defeated in a single battle. After both my troops and many of the Galeheart Guild's highest-paid mercenaries were defeated entirely, the Dark One made a deal with Lith in his weakened state and took over the city. Just like he did with you? So you're saying there's a secret leader to Valor City? Monk nods. Similarly. However, the real intentions of the Dark One are unknown to me. All I know is the Royal Guard is controlled by that creature now. It is not in human hands. Still, even though it's an entity that came from a dungeon, the select few that know about the break refer to it as the Sector 1 leader. Others are in the dark. Many think all the recent changes in the city are because of the Galeheart Guild. In reality, this is not the case. It's the Dark One, the strongest entity ruling the economy and trade deals of the Dark Continent, as well as some stretching into other far-off lands. I remember back to seeing the eyes of one of the Royal Guard glow orange through the slit in its mask, and theories begin to creep into my head. I respond, now thinking about the Lich King's curse that was on the ghoul's buff slot when I fought it. You mentioned to me after the fight that even the strong can fall to its curse. What did you mean by that? Monk stops pacing and stares at me. All of the elders and paid mercenaries that were defeated by the Dark One were killed and turned into undead puppets. Every one of the current Royal Guard is not a human anymore. They're monsters in disguise, being manipulated by the soul energy of an unbeatable undead king. I've never felt soul energy as powerful as it's in my life. That is, until I saw the power you wielded in the arena last night. He walks over and sits back down at the table with a hand stretched out to meet mine. If you unlock the power of your own soul energy, I believe you may be the key to saving this city. Please, allow me to train you. Chapter 365. I let out a long sigh, looking down at Monk's outstretched hand. Save the city? Fight a monster that's killed thousands of men stronger than you? The only reason I came here was to get my teammates and leave this place. I'm always up for a good fight, but it has to be winnable in some capacity and have great rewards afterward. Do you expect me to just agree to help because it's the right thing to do? There's a pause and a moment of silence, but Monk doesn't move from his position. I speak again. What's in it for me? What kind of training can you provide? And what other information do you have on this Dark One that may be useful to know? He nods, still keeping his hand outstretched. There are no conditions to the training. You may take any gear or materials you need from our monastery if you wish. That includes knowledge, ask me anything. If you don't think you can win the fight, then there's no reason for you to put yourself in harm's way. However, I have a plan to lure them out of hiding. I'm sure you want to fight more of those ghouls if you could get the chance to, right? I think about it for a moment, then reply, yes, if you say there are nearly 900 of them left. The level gains could be very profitable. I'm just unable to use my soul energy for very long. 1 or 2 long battles at most before I need to take a long break to heal. Monk's gaze tightens, then he looks around the room. It's only us in here. Whatever you tell me will never leave my lips. I need to know as much as I can about the soul energy you used during your match last night to help with controlling it. On my ancestors, your secrets are safe with me. He looks me in the eyes and continues to speak, explaining that the rate at which high-level fighters, mercenaries, and even strong travelers that come to this city are disappearing the moment they're put in a very compromising position. The new midnight tax has taken many good people's lives, turning them into tools for the Dark One. At the rate the city is changing, the deal with the Galeheart Guild for protection will be meaningless and the Dark One's army will force them to leave or fight very soon. In response, I decide to give a rough explanation of how my teammates and I came to obtain the Soulstones, bonded with them, and how they work. Of course, excluding the parts about many of my unique skills and our past affiliation with the association, but there's enough information for him to fill in the blanks. Very interesting. So it seems borrowing the power of a monster with soul energy even after their death has major side effects and limits to the user's body. I've only ever seen manifested soul energy like this from the top elder who passed last year and the Dark One itself. Monk pauses again. I'll teach you how to wield your own soul energy. Well, in its base form when not linked to a user, we call it chi. The soul energy that is linked to the system reacts with mana or certain rank-up processes. Some buffs like the one you have allow the user to manipulate chi along with the mana-manifested essence of a creature, just like the Dark One. However, chi itself does not react to the system or mana at all. It is the power passed down from the originators. He looks down at the floor, stomping lightly 2 times to show me he is pointing at the black material itself. Unauthorized reproduction. This story has been taken without approval. Report sightings. Chi can't be learned naturally, it needs to be shared, either from a person that awakens another, or through powerful deposits like the soul stones you mentioned. I'm sure if you use those stones enough they'll either run out eventually and the buff will stop working, or you'll unconsciously absorb some of the energy it grants you and awaken yourself. That would take quite a while though. My mind races at this information, thinking back to some of the explanations Ember gave me when I asked him about the soul stones and the monsters that rank up again at higher levels. Pairing this knowledge with the fact that this Dark One is most likely a monster that ruled an A-class dungeon, we could be dealing with a monster over level 1000. If what Monk is saying is true, Chi is another power source like mana or demonic energy, though it seems not to be rooted in the system, at least not for anyone below A-class. Just like demons and demonic energy are a mystery to most of the world, this seems to take things a step even further. I take much longer to think about my response, but finally do. I'd like to learn more. If you're able to teach me this power with no strings attached, I'd gladly accept. Monk smiles and I see his eyes sparkle with excitement. We shake hands, then stand up from the table and walk over to the center of the black-walled and glossy-floored training room. I speak very excited but pretty nervous at the same time. Let's do this. I knew coming in here he would have a proposition of some kind for me, but I didn't think it'd be this intense and secretive. However, this only makes it more intriguing. If I can learn how to wield this new energy source stronger than both mana and demonic energy, without the bodily harming limits of the Red Hydra's buff, I could be unstoppable. Monk instructs me to sit down on the floor with my legs crossed and close my eyes as he places a hand on my back. Ready? I nod, and Monk explains to me I need to stay still until he speaks again. It may feel unnatural, but that is part of the process. The moment I take a deep breath in and out through my nose, I feel a warm energy in the shape of an open palm leave Monk's fingertips and enter my back. It immediately spreads through my shoulders and down my arms. Simultaneously, It flows down my spine and into my hips to trickle through my legs. After just a few seconds, it feels as if my entire body is full from my toes to my fingertips. It feels like warm waters flowing through my body, but there's no weight to it at all. It just feels as if a liquid is constantly flowing through me until Monk releases his palm from my back and the stream of more warmth stops. After a few seconds, my fingers and toes start to get colder. The warm water flows away from them and it all begins to settle near my stomach. There's no weight to it, only warmth. As the energy leaves my hands and feet, then even my arms and legs, I feel Monk's palm fall onto my back again. The flow of warm energy crashes in like a calm ocean wave, filling my body entirely just like the first time before it even got the chance to settle in the invisible resting place in the center of my being. He releases his hand and the warm energy goes through the same process, eventually trickling back into my core and leaving my extremities. Then again, Monk does the same thing a third, fourth, fifth, and finally a sixth time before finally stopping. At this, all of the warm energy leaves my body and finally settles in my invisible core near the bottom of my stomach. This leaves me shivering as if I just walked out of a hot bath without a towel. Monk's voice calmly speaks to me. You may open your eyes now. You have an impressive amount of energy capacity. Even without any formal training, I can tell your natural talent will be incredible. I open my eyes and take a deep breath, still shivering. The more I move, the colder I feel, but I manage to stand to my feet and face the man that just shared his power with me. I feel disoriented, but the sensation of being powerless and systemless while making contact with this mana-negating stone is gone. I can sense something in the air. There is definitely energy to feed off of here that I couldn't sense previously. Monk speaks as we make eye contact. You took the instant exposure very well too. Most people can't move for hours or possibly days after an awakening like this. My vision is doubled, and it looks as if I should feel dizzy, but my mind is actually crystal clear. My body just needs to catch up. A moment later, my vision focuses and I see Monk bow in front of me with clasped hands. Let us spar. We don't have much time, and you have much to learn. Chapter 366. I put my hands up to show Monk I'm ready, but I see an assortment of rings on my fingers, and the ends of my red robe limit the movement of my arms. Even my armor feels heavy on my chest. Without the magic buffs these items give me, they're very movement limiting. For a split second, I reconsider the fact that none of my skills are activated at all. That includes my concealment skill changing my face. But Monk didn't say a word about it. My eyes track over to the wooden table at the back of the room, and Monk gives me a nod to remove my gear. I come back with just my boots, black pants, and a t-shirt on. My body still feels cold, but the light walk has warmed me up and I can feel energy coming out of the floor and walls. It slowly flows through me and warms me up, replicating the process Monk did on me. It's far slower, like the hint of a warm breeze, and the absorption process feels more like condensation from a water bottle. Particles that float around the room come to me and stick to my skin, slowly soaking through and warming my body up. I can't manipulate the energy here. I can only wait for it to come to me. Monk speaks as I come back to him. Ready? I'll start slow and we'll train until one of us can't go any further. I lock eyes with him and imitate his bow. Then our mock matchup begins. There were no rules outlined, and he hasn't given me any tips or techniques, so my guess is the best way to learn is to just spar. Monk runs forward, so I do the same. As he does, I can faintly sense the buildup of pressure in his body, and as he pushes a fist forward at me, a wave of hot white energy rushes up his arm and into his hand. The movement isn't fast. A normal fighter without a leveling system could easily dodge it. However, I'm not quite sure getting hit with a punch like this would be as simple to brush off. I spin my body out of harm's way, and Monk instantly shifts his feet and lunges in with a spinning kick. I duck and dodge this slow-moving attack too. Even when my eyes momentarily leave the target, I can still sense the same wave of white energy flowing from the middle of his body down his leg and into his foot. To the naked eye, it doesn't look out of the ordinary at all. But I'm sure he's using chi to bolster these attacks. Monk stares at me with a straight face and motions for me to attack now. If you find this story on Amazon, Be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. I take deep breaths and slowly step forward with both my palms raised. My eyes are staring straight forward, but my mind is entirely focused on the hot, invisible core of energy inside me. My first thought is to try and move it around like mana manipulation or demonic energy, but the feeling I get from latching onto every individual particle when wielding those energies never comes. With every step closer to Monk I take, the more frustrating it gets. The core of warm, watery energy doesn't budge. I can feel it as clear as day in my lower stomach, but it won't move like I want it to. I'm frozen in place, clenching my fists. Too slow. Monk comes running at me with another attack with quite a bit more speed. The white energy pulses in his heels before every step, and I can sense the growing power in his fist is much more concentrated than before. I jump backward, and the fighter's fist flies by my face mere millimeters away. There's another source of energy forming behind me and flowing upward like a gust of wind before I can even react. I try to dodge again and jump out of the way, but a white-hot kick hits me in the gut and I'm sent flying backward almost 5 meters. On impact, I feel a wave crashing into my side. Most of it feels like a wall that forces me away, but a small amount of it sticks to my body just like the ambient chi that comes off the walls and ceiling. As I hit the floor and stand back up to my feet, I feel the slow slosh of my own energy settling after the hit. Monk yells out as I put my hands up. Don't think, just fight. I run forward taking his advice and actually throw a punch this time. However, there's no chi in my attack at all, it's just a normal fist. With quick footsteps and precise blows, I get my punch blocked with ease and another foot to the side of my ribs sending me flying back. It feels the same like a wave of hot ocean water hits me across the body with no warning at all. Still, I get up and fight again to get thrown into the same situation over and over. Monk doesn't make it harder for me, he just stays at this same strength and speed difficulty. After I fall to the ground for a 4th time, he speaks as I get up. Guide the flow of energy. You don't have to be in control, you only have to lead it to the path of least resistance. I nod, but scrunch my eyebrows inwardly, trying to figure out what his phrase means. Then I'm hit with his kick again. Every time I think I have his movements figured out and am ready to dodge, he always switches things up last minute and I'm hit point blank with the same crashing wave of energy. However, each time I'm hit, I feel my own core of energy ripple and slosh. After 2 more falls, I mumble to myself while running forward at Monk. Guide the energy, don't force it. I sway my body back and forth, synchronizing with the light ripple and shifts of energy that settle in my stomach, and for the first time as I throw a fist, I feel warmth flow up into my shoulder and down my arm. It's not much, but I can feel trickles of warm energy reach my fingertips. As Monk's forearm collides with mine for his usual block, instead of his energy bouncing my arm away, it feels as if 2 ocean waves collide and a shimmering invisible essence of energy fills the air as both sides of the watery flow fall back. Almost instantly, all of the chi in my arm flows back into my core and I feel another roundhouse kick to the side, but I see Monk grinning with pride as he does so. Not bad, you're a quick learner. Let's do it again. I stand to my feet with a smile of my own. I'm not quite sure how I did it, but I know exactly how it felt. It's one thing just seeing it happen, and another actually experiencing it. I'm much more confident I can replicate and improve this movement. With both hands guarding my face, I run forward again. Chapter 367. We continue to spar. The more times I get hit and knocked down, the more I understand the mechanics of this new power source. Every fist I throw has to have meaning and focus. It feels very similar to my newest swordsmanship skill upgrade. Every time I throw a fist, it feels as if I'm guiding the warm energy in a perfect line to a certain point. If I ever second-guess myself or waver from the correct path, the flow of chi halts and it all trickles back into my core. The movement has to be done all over again to get the energy to flow perfectly. I'm able to let chi flow from my core to my fists, and even manage to replicate the movement technique by allowing energy to flow into my heels. It's much more difficult than my fists. Every step I take has to be with confidence and precision. Even one change in position and the extra propulsion is negated instantly. Once I manage to block both the punch and kick from Monk a few times in a row, we move on to another exercise. Monk's feet light up with chi just like before, but this time with much more. The concentration is easily 5 times as much. Catch me. You need to touch me once, then we'll spar again. This exercise will teach you the volume of flow. Only use what you need, but learn how to open the floodgates when necessary. I nod, focused already. Then he begins jumping around the room with chi-powered footsteps. I try to follow, but my style is more like a charging bull compared to his graceful movements. Every turn made makes me halt for a fraction of a second in my mind to reassess the situation and locate the target, but in doing so the flow of energy to my feet ceases. I lose my speed and have to take a moment to lock on and charge toward him again. Just like my punches, it's all a work in progress. The more I guide the energy, the more natural it becomes. After almost 45 minutes pass, I'm able to curve my movements in sweeping strides in order to not stop altogether, and after another 45 minutes pass, I'm finally able to move quickly and gracefully similar to Monk. Not much more time passes before I finally manage to nick his shoulder with my right hand on a passing sprint. We both stop in our tracks and let out laughs. Good job. Your speed of progression is quite frightening, honestly. I'm too out of breath to respond, but I muster a thank you as I place both hands on my waist. There's a high reliance on the chi for energy in these movements, but it's still pretty taxing on my physical body. It feels as if I just ran 20 kilometers. Although I'm used to stretching long distances like this in training before, it's usually fighting monsters. I can't remember the last time I fought with a human on equal terms for this long. Plus, it's clear Monk is still holding back a lot. A case of theft. This story is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. I look up and put my hands up again after taking another long deep breath. What's next? We spar again. I run forward with a chi-charged fist with multiple times more power than it had just hours ago. I'm pulling from the same exact energy source, but the more control I have over it, the better I can guide its flow. The energy doesn't leave my body at all, but it feels as if it's right on the edge of my outer layer of skin. Invisible to the naked eye, but more dense than diamonds. 2 massive waves splash together as our fists collide in the center of the training room and our second sparring match begins. Punches and kicks are thrown in rapid succession as we sprint around the room. I use my full power every time I throw an attack. With an opponent that's able to increase his skill level accordingly, making himself just slightly stronger than me and slightly faster every time I make a breakthrough leads to the perfect training environment. I'm pushed to my limits for another full hour until what I didn't know was possible happens. As I throw another fist at Monk full of confidence, the endless pool of power that filled my stomach reaches its bottom. My eyes widen and I completely lose control of the energy in my feet and fists as there's not enough left in me to send another full attack at the fighter in front of me. In this moment caught off guard, the familiar feeling of a kick to the gut sends me flying into the back wall of the room over 15 meters away. A loud thud of me hitting the stone floor ends our training session. Your chi stores have finally run out. It took over 3 hours of full-on fighting. Again, very impressive. I'd say it's time to take a break and recharge. I push myself up from the floor and walk back over breathing heavily and completely exhausted. However, the smile across my face is wider than any post-battle victory I've had in months. That was one heck of a workout. I imitate the bow he always does and continue. Thank you. He bows back, then points to the floor. One more thing before we make our way upstairs to rest. He sits in the position I was in earlier with legs crossed and a straight back on the floor. Join me. At his words, I do the same, facing him and closing my eyes expecting something interesting to happen. About 30 seconds pass and nothing does. I open one eye, but he sat there sitting still with his eyes closed motionless. I take a deep breath in and out of my nose and close my eyes again to be polite. My heavy breathing from training eventually ceases and the endorphins relax me even more, putting me into a calm state mindful of all the energy seeping out from the black stone around me. The longer I sit, the more of the energy passes through me on its natural flow through the air and sticks to the outside of my body, slowly being absorbed into every place it makes contact. Tiny streams of energy lead back to my inner core. Over 20 minutes pass and I feel the chi inside me slightly growing. It's an incredibly slow process. The amount I naturally took in while sitting here for almost half an hour is just enough to throw one more punch. At this rate, it'd take weeks to bring me back up to full capacity like I was before training begun. Once my concentration finally breaks, Monk senses my movement and opens his eyes while standing up to his feet. Very good. You now know how to perform natural chi gathering too. I stand to my feet and follow him back over to the wooden table at the front of the room. It's more like just sitting and waiting to recharge. He nods as I start putting my gear back on. Even though it doesn't give me buffs, I don't have any other way to carry it right now, so wearing it is the simplest option. Yes, the natural process does take time, but understanding the process is how you will increase your capacity in the future. If you gather more chi while your core is full, your capacity will slowly grow. I think about that for a moment as he leads me to the door. Understood. Monk presses his hand against the rectangle of black stone, and I sense the warm energy flow from his palm into the door. It lights up white and shifts open just as it did on our way down here. He turns back, motioning for me to follow. Chapter 368. We make our way through a winding black hallway before Monk leads me to a room that has dozens of rectangular doors on it. He turns to one, then points to all of them. Choose a room. There are showers and fresh clothing in all of them. I walk up to the closest door and pause for a moment, then place my palm against the cold stone. I push on it with a lot of force, but it doesn't budge at all. It's like a solid wall. Monk speaks. All it needs is a small amount of chi, less than you would use to throw a punch. Channel a small amount into your hand while making contact with the door, and it will open wide. The stone won't budge unless a chi user opens it. I do as he says, letting a small amount trickle into my fingertips. Then the panel of stone swings open. There's a small dimly lit room with fresh white shirts and pants, along with the orange robe everyone wears in this place. On the back wall, there's a shower and bath. I take 10 minutes, and the room steams up nicely as all my soreness and fatigue from our training goes away. I change into the shirt and pants provided, but decide against wearing the robe, putting my armor and cloak back on as an overlayer before coming out. Monk greets me, and we make our way to the dining hall as initially intended. There are many bows and greetings as we get food from a fast-moving line. Everyone gets a very similar meal, but it smells delicious. I sit down across a table from Monk and we begin to eat. There's meat, vegetables, rice, and plenty of water. It's all very standard food, but I'm grateful for the hospitality. The only thing that stands out to me is a small spherical white pill that comes in a black cup next to the water. Monk swallows his whole without a second of hesitation, and I watch many people at the surrounding tables doing a similar thing. They all take the pill before even starting the meal. I pick up the tiny black cup with the pill inside and look straight ahead. What's this? Why is everyone taking it? I can sense there is energy coming off it, but it's unclear what exactly it does. A Tier 1 chi pill. Everyone takes it after training. He points to the floor and continues. Natural chi resides in these mountain stones. We've mined and harnessed the power for centuries waiting for a time like this. Everyone restores their chi after training instead of waiting weeks, months, or possibly even years to fully restore one's core. Stolen content alert. This content belongs on Royal Road. Report any occurrences. I stare at the pill with a curious gaze but place it back down on the table. Monk begins to eat, but nods. You don't have to take it now, but it would make you feel much better and prepare you for the next stage of training. I take the pill out from the cup and hold it between my thumb and index finger, examining it carefully. What's the next stage? Monk replies, you need some practical training, and you'll need to adapt to a fighting style that includes both your mana-based skills and new chi techniques. The arena event tonight will be a great place to test out what you've learned. My gaze tightens on the pill for a final time before I decide to throw it into my open mouth. The moment it's swallowed, it feels as if a warm ocean wave hits my stomach and rushes through my entire body. The tiny puddle of chi that was left in me has turned into a raging river, igniting my body with energy. As my eyes light up with power, Monk speaks again. Feels good, doesn't it? My gaze wanders around the room as everything looks just a tiny bit brighter and more colorful. The feeling from empty to full is nearly instantaneous. It feels as if I have almost double the energy stores that I did at the peak when fighting Monk earlier. This confirms my chi stores weren't even on full before. I was just working with shared power. Soon, my sparkling daze settles down and I raise the question back to Monk as we finish our meals. So we'll go back into the fight arena tonight? What's the plan you mentioned earlier? To fight more ghouls? Didn't you say the Royal Guard keep an eye on soul energy users? He nods. Sure, yes. I'm sure the moment you leave this building many eyes will be on you. So, be careful where you go, who you talk to, and what you say if you don't want them involved. I gulp at the sound of this, thinking about my teammates potentially stuck behind the Royal Guards in the center of the city. We finish all the food on our plates and bring them back over to the place we got them. Many other men in robes do the same, leaving through seemingly random doors on all sides of the room. Some mention a nightly training session, others talk of chi gathering to raise their natural capacity, and some talk in a tongue that I can't understand. Monk and I walk back up to the surface. I use small amounts of chi to open each door as we walk up until making it to the final narrow hallway that leads to the outside world within the platinum walls. 2 men bow as we leave and stay guarding the doorway, but if I remember correctly, the 2 there are a different pair than when we entered before. They must have rotating shifts. Monk speaks as we approach the light. Brace yourself. For what? As both my feet leave the black stone structure, I understand exactly what. The wristband on me turns from transparent to platinum again. The containment ring on my finger puts my formal outfit on, and every option on my status comes back to me all at once. There's a barrage of blue text screens that pop up in my mind's eye, ready to be used. Best of all, I take a deep breath of fresh air in through my nose. Mana fills my body once again, and it feels as if I didn't even know what I was missing out on. A few steps of euphoria is all it takes before my body and mind get used to it, and the world around me goes back to normal again. Apart from one thing, there's always small trace amounts of mana in the air that I can absorb, but now I can faintly sense chi in the atmosphere too. It's barely 1/100 th of what it feels like inside the monastery, but I'm sure I sense it in the air even far out into the city. After I let out another long sigh and use conceal to change my face back to a disguised version, then rummage through some items in my storage system beneath my clothing to make sure everything is still in the right place where I left it. Monk and I step onto the moving platform and make our way to the gate that leads back into the golden walls. A pair of platinum armored guards scan our wristbands and allow us to move through without a moment of hesitation or a single word. The same process happens at the next gate, and before we know it, both of us are walking side by side into the fight arena as the midday events start to come to a close. I throw on my mask, and both of us walk over to the registration table. Mr. Wright, the man in the white suit, spots us from afar and his eyes light up as he realizes his 2 top prize fighters have arrived earlier than expected. Chapter 369. Welcome back, Mr. Flame Emperor. I wasn't sure if I'd be seeing you again. However, I'm even more surprised to see you here with Monk. What are the odds? Mr. Wright smiles wide as he gets a tablet ready and I reply. I wasn't sure if I'd be back either, but I had a change of heart. The show must go on, right? He taps on the silver tablet a few more times before giving me a nod and looking up. Indeed, I like the way you're talking. You're registered for the last spot in the nighttime event, just like before. There's a lot more people watching tonight. Even in the midday events, there has been over double the usual betting volume. I raise an eyebrow as he continues. We accepted a few more fighters into every event as well. There won't be any break time between the midday and the evening event, so make yourself comfortable. He points to the stairway behind the registration desk, then looks up at both of us. You can mingle with the competitors downstairs, or enjoy the show out in the open air. You two are the exception to the rules. Just make sure you make it downstairs in time for your match to begin. What you do before then is none of my business. He gives us another smile as Monk gives him a slight bow. I nod and turn away, looking for some seats in the crowd. Monk whispers in my ear, I'll be heading down to scope out the new fighters. Sounds good. I'll be watching from the stands. I'll be down before my match. We split off in opposite directions. The familiar sound of the announcer's voice echoes in my ears as he commentates on a sword wielder fighting a monster in the 4th stage. The crowd is pretty rowdy, and there aren't many free seats available even though the main event hasn't even started yet. I whisper under my breath as I find a spot about 10 rows away from the ring. This will do just fine. I sit down and let out a sigh. After a great workout, a solid meal, and a complete recharge in chi, everything feels amazing. There's a few hours before my fight starts, so for now I'll let my meal digest and enjoy the show. That's exactly what I do. The crowds around get more and more packed, and after watching 6 matches the betting odds become more and more volatile in the 4th and 5th stages. There are huge sways in the payouts at the start of every betting sequence. It's clear to see there are some high rollers in the crowd betting hundreds of gold for fun. Even on these midday matches, one of the midday fighters manages to defeat the 5th stage monster. But other than that, there wasn't anyone skilled in the ring just yet. Still, it's fun to watch the talent here and study some of the lower-level monsters' fight patterns. If you find this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. Eventually, the announcer's voice rings out into the crowd. That brings our midday fights to a close. We will have a short 10-minute intermission if you'd like to take a breather, buy some food, restock, or cash out some credits. Afterward, our opener for the late-night event will begin. The energy in the arena shifts to a serious tone, then a burst of excitement. All the tension from watching the lower-level fights all day has been building up, and the anticipation for the real events to start is finally getting close. Many people leave their seats and small scuffles start up when even more people walk in from outside and either steal taken places or can't even find room for more. The arena is overpacked, and even I'm getting hyped up to see what's in store. A few minutes pass, then a display of rainbow lights coming from charged mana crystals beneath multicolored glass sends radiant beams around the stadium as the night sky becomes dark overhead. The crowds are overflowing as the announcer speaks in an excited voice again. Would you all give a warm welcome to our first competitor, the opening act. A legacy fighter we all know well, the Stone Maiden. After her fight record is shared with the crowd, and more words of encouragement to give more hype, a flash of transport magic brings the familiar legacy fighter to the stage. The ear-shattering roar that follows shakes the arena. I decide to place a 100 gold bet on Sia, the Stone Maiden. A few minutes later, as the announcer's voice sounds again, an eruption of stone blowing a small horned rabbit to pieces is followed by a notification alerting me I won 2 gold on a 1.02x bet. The next few matches go almost exactly the same. I bet 100 gold on stage 2, 3, 4, and 5, winning another 56 gold in total. The odds raise more toward her losing as the rounds get higher. I decide not to bet at all on the 6th round. It's not a guaranteed win in my mind. She loses to a red ogre, and my suspicions are confirmed. I smirk, crossing my arms, and wait for the next event to come about. 2 newbies follow, and I decide not to bet, just watching both of them make it to the 5th round. One taps out after barely winning, and the other gets defeated in seconds in the 6th. Next up, Max the Shield takes the stage. Just like Sia, I bet 100 gold on him winning every event from stage 1 to 5. I make another 74 gold in profit and decide not to bet on the 6th round. He wins, but I don't feel bad about not taking the gamble. He doesn't move on to the 7th round by choice. More newbies follow, and they're better than the last ones. Both make it to the 6th stage, but neither of them defeat it. I don't bother betting on them. Ace takes the stage next, and I watch closely as he slices through every one of his opponents. I bet 100 gold on each fight, and even take the chance to bet on the 6th stage with another 100 gold bet at 2.16x odds. People are voting against him, but I've seen this swordsman's buff in action and trust he'll get it done. As he defeats the massive beast in the ring with a series of slashes, covered in a blue aura, the notification dings on my wristband and the crowd goes wild. My credits have risen up to 15.1077 platinum, almost 300 gold profit, and it's not even time for the main event. I sit back and watch the 7th stage ghoul take Ace down with ease, and many drunken bettors cheer or get angry at the results. The announcer hypes the crowd even more, hinting that there may be more Stage 7 fights coming up again in the future. More people pile in from the streets, and the stadium becomes even more overpacked. The announcer introduces another newbie, and I decide to stand up and squeeze through the crowds back down to the registration table to make my way underground to the training room. My fight is up soon, and it's best I get there earlier rather than late. While I do, the next unknown fighter's match begins and a flash of bright blue and white light fills the ring. I turn my head to see pillars of ice form all over the Stage 1 goblin, showing an unnecessary display of strength. One of the display screens zooms in on the fighter that placed this attack as the announcer starts hyping up the second stage. A womanly figure stands tall, holding a silver sword covered in ice. She glows blue and wears silver lightweight armor too. Through a white mask covering her face, I see familiar bright blue eyes and long flowing blonde hair. Chapter 370. Could it be? I whisper to myself as I continue squeezing my way through the crowd to get to the underground training room. My seat is already lost, so there's no point in trying to go back to the ring to see her up close for myself. The screens that appear all over show the blonde-haired woman with a white face covering. Her blue glow has ceased as the announcer hypes up the crowd to bet on the Stage 2 matchup. I start walking underground behind the registration table, and the words that echo through the arena confirm my suspicions. The Ice Empress will now be moving on to the second fight in 10, 9, 8. I roll my eyes and smile at the blatantly copied version of my fighter name, but don't mind much as I have many other questions running through my head. As the noise of the crowd becomes muffled, the white walls and glossy floor of the training room come into view. Some familiar legacy fighters stand around after their matchups watching a big fight screen. Maria is on the big screen, instantly taking out her opponent in the ring with another overwhelming wave of ice magic. With my mind racing at why she's here of all places, and if any of my other teammates may be nearby, these thoughts are soon put to a halt as Max spots me from the other side of the room. "Hey, it's you. We missed you this morning. I wasn't sure if you'd be coming back to the ring." Just in time. At his loud welcome, almost every hunter underground turns their heads to watch me walk over to the legacy fighters watching the fight over by the transport platform. Monk doesn't get up from his seat on the ground on the other side of the room. His eyes are closed, and he's preparing for his upcoming match. I'm greeted with more warm welcomes from both Sia and Ace. Then we continue to watch the matches. I bet 100 gold on every one of the following fights, making 132 gold back on the third, fourth, and fifth rounds combined. She moves on to the sixth, and the payout on her winning is over 2x again and rising. I throw another 100 gold on the Ice Empress, and she freezes the Stage 6 monster in an instant, winning without any resistance. There were already murmurs about this newbie before, but now the topic of conversation has shifted to only her. Maria raises her thumb in the air, and the crowd outside goes wild as the announcer hypes up the 7th stage match. Max turns to all of the other legacy fighters, ripping his eyes away from the bright screen on the wall. "Do you see this? She's stronger than all of us. She just took out the Stage 6 monster in a single hit." He turns to me with wide eyes, then something clicks in his head. A case of theft. This story is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. Wait, her name is just like yours. Do you know this woman? My gaze is still on the screen as I wait for the betting odds to get high enough to place a bet. I just shrug and reply to Max in a low tone. "First time I've seen her in this city." His eyes move down to his wristband. "Over a 3x payout if she wins?" Ha! I'm in. There must be some high rollers that understand how tough that 7th stage monster is. Based on her performance in the ring, no casual viewer would bet against her now. However, I agree with Max on this one. Maria has the same buff as me. She'll be able to beat this ghoul without an issue. I smirk and nod. Me too. Let's get a nice payout. Ace and Sia stay away from betting, but their eyes don't leave the screen as the announcer counts down and the match begins. A white-skinned creature with yellow teeth, a long sword, and a faint orange aura around its body teleports in, and the match begins. Maria glows bright blue and runs forward with a trail of ice behind her. The ghoul runs forward to match her speed in silence. Both of them swing their blades at each other. Moments before impact, there's a flash of red light. Maria's blade releases a pink-colored ice that slices the ghoul in two, freezing both halves faster than normal eyes can see. The orange aura of the ghoul disintegrates in milliseconds, and Maria plants her feet to turn around and slash the frozen ghoul with her sword again. By this point, the crimson buff covering her body is already completely powered off. She didn't have it activated for more than half a second. The red-tinted ice shatters into a million pieces like snow, and the crowd roars as the announcer yells out in awe as the 7th stage was taken out in record time. A dinging notification brings my coin total up to 21.5056 platinum. Then, it's followed by the ice wielder in the ring putting her sword on her waist. After, she refuses to move on to the 8th round. I don't spot the royal guard coming into the arena to stop her. It seems like she said no on her own. A blink of transport magic brings her right back to the small platform in the training room, and every head in the room turns to her. Beneath the bright white mask and form-fitting lightweight armor, her eyes scan the room before locking onto mine for a split second, then facing forward again. She walks forward, and no one approaches. I activate my telepathy skill instantly and send a link directly to her. Before I get a word in, her voice sounds in my head. "Meet me at the restaurant you went to last night after your match." They're watching and listening. I had to get your attention somehow. It seems like this did the trick. She pauses for a moment, then goes on. "Plus, I wanted to see how tough that stage 7 monster really was. I'll explain everything once we're in a secure place to speak." I gulp and look away before replying. "Understood. Good match, you've gotten much stronger." Maria sends a final message back before closing our link. "You have too. Good luck on yours. I'll see you soon." She continues to walk through the room and makes her way up the stairs. It's not until then that I turn around again and activate my inspect and appraisal skills out of curiosity. Her gear is almost all the same, but her level has risen to 612. That's higher than me. She's been training while I've been asleep and trying to get to this city. Just like Monk said before, there's some kind of widespread surveillance in this city, so we need a safe and quiet place to talk. However, this begs the question, how did she even know I was at a restaurant last night in the first place? Or why not just leave the city to talk in private? More questions race through my mind now than they did when I walked in here. I thought seeing her here would explain a few things, but it's only made things more complicated. The last glimmer of her silver armor disappears through the staircase upward, and I see Monk approach the transport platform as he's next up in the fight arena. Chapter 371. My mind is trying to fit more pieces of the puzzle together, but there are too many unknown variables in my way. Clearly, Maria isn't trapped or here completely against her will, and this most likely means my other teammates are fine too. Her level has grown significantly and fighting ability too. Although quite a few things don't make any sense here, at least I don't have to rack my brain for ways to get into the center of the city anymore. Maria will have some answers for me. It's best I push any more questions to the back of my mind for the time being and focus on my match ahead. The sole reason for coming here tonight is to fight in the ring. If I wanted to just practice on more people or normal monsters, I could have gone outside the city. What I'm really curious about is how my new ability to wield chi will help me against the battle with the ghoul. If I can avoid using my Hydra's buff and still take this monster out, I'll be much more confident in taking many of them on at once if need be. I take a deep breath and calm my mind, crossing my arms and looking up at the screen as Monk begins his fights. Just like the other rounds, I bet 100 gold on every one of his matches, bringing my total up to 23.1901 platinum by the end of the 7th stage. Monk has a picture-perfect run, punching the monsters with fists of chi and not taking a single bit of damage himself. I would bet more, but anything can happen in the ring. The only person I'd trust to win with 100% certainty is myself. Monk steps off the transport platform and I get the cue to step on. I'm transported into the ring, and the announcer hypes up the crowd while I start to walk around the dirt circle and wave to the audience. Some people are cheering my name, others are booing, and others are just screaming and yelling in a drunken state for the fun of it. Everyone, I'd like to give you the final event of the night. With only a single match in the fight ring previously, the Flame Emperor has made it to the 7th round and won with flying colors. You're in for quite the show. The betting odds are in favor for me to win in such a skewed amount. The number on my wrist just says 1.00x. I don't bother betting on the first round. I just take a deep breath and concentrate on the chi in my body. Although I'm here to put on a show, I need to warm up for the match that counts in the end. A level 31 hobgoblin is teleported into the ring, and I keep my sword at my waist as I run forward at the monster. Letting the warm wave of energy build up in my core and allowing it to flow into my fist, I jump forward and land a punch on the monster's chest. Instantly, as it makes contact, an energy wave ripples through the monster and it flies backward, disintegrating into so many pieces it looks like red dust. My eyes widen as the crowd cheers. I absorb the small amount of MCP offered from my absorption skill and accept the silver for winning the match. I know my base level strength from my levels gives me more than enough power to take out this low-level mob without chi, but the violent shockwave of energy sent through its body is a very new feeling. When I sparred with Monk, it felt like a crashing wave was hitting a sturdy barrier. This felt more like a tsunami destroying a seawall with ease. The energy trickles back into my core and the announcer brings out the Stage 2 monster. The betting odds now say 1.03x, so I decide to just throw my entire credit account in on the match. Some return is better than nothing. A level 122 Cyclops creature comes out for my next match, and I decide to try something a bit different. This tale has been pilfered from Royal Road. If found on Amazon, kindly file a report. There's hardly any difference in strength between these low-level opponents. Controlling my strength to be able to spar with low-level mobs is not the kind of training I'm interested in. Monk may do it so he can teach his disciples, but I'm here to try and make the most deadly technique. I activate my fire magic and light my fists with flames. Running forward just like before, I let another wave of chi flow into my arm as I punch the Cyclops at point-blank range. The same thing happens. On impact, a great pressure builds up and ripples through the monster's body, instantly breaking the tension and disintegrating the monster into nothing. The fire magic around my fist reacts with the flying monster matter and erupts into a huge dark red explosion. However, the fire had nothing to do with the attack itself. It's more like confetti for the crowd after the fact. The audience cheers as usual. I get paid a set amount of silver for winning along with my bet payout, and the matches continue. Stage 3 and 4 are almost exactly the same. A single hit obliterates my opponent, and the eruption of flames makes the crowd cheer. Stage 3 rewards the usual set price payout, but after winning Stage 4 I finally get my 1% cut of the arena betting and the notification puts a smile on my face. Stage 4 Fight Victory. Reward: 79.5540 gold credits. Last time I won in Stage 4, the payout here was under 20 gold. That means over 4 times more people are betting tonight. I win another 1.04x bet and a 1.07x on these rounds, but my main focus is figuring out how to use both my chi and mana together in the same attack. It feels as if there's something I'm missing, but it's so close. I just need to send out this attack many more times before I'll understand it. The 5th stage comes along, and a very familiar opponent comes to the stage. A level 405 Berserker Giant. The same monster from the 19th floor of the Vice City Labyrinth. The betting odds reach 1.10x and I go all in again. As soon as the dark-skinned, green-eyed, sword wielder comes into the ring with mana-bonded swords and a Berserker skill, I grin and run forward. I don't use any of my buffs, and I'm not using the full power of my fire magic or chi. I know these monsters can take a hit, and won't give up no matter how dire the situation seems. In fact, they get stronger and more lively. This will be the perfect time to finally learn something. As my fist makes contact with the monster's chest, just like all of the ones before, I feel the wave of energy ripple over the entire outside of its body. Then, the portion where I exert the most force cracks like an eggshell, sending the monster flying backward with blood and fire trailing in the air. It hits the back wall of the mana-shielded dome and falls to the ground, but begins glowing red and smiling wide with its creepy jagged teeth. I smirk back, whispering under my breath, "That's what I like to see. I can finally get some practice in." There's a chunk missing in the middle of its chest, but it sprints forward with almost double the speed and power now. It's enraged and has activated its berserker skill. I gracefully dodge its attacks while paying close attention to my breathing and sending in another chi-infused punch to hit its left side. As I make contact, a very interesting reaction occurs. Similar to the time before, the contact point explodes, taking another chunk from the beast, but the moment it does, the red aura surrounding its body vanishes in the spot that I hit it. It didn't negate the whole buff, it more so pushed through it, forcing the aura to the side and making contact for the fist. The monster goes flying into the side of the ring again, but quickly stands back up and faces me holding its long silver sword and staring at me with its sharp green eyes showing no fear. I nod to my opponent out of respect, then use a gust of wind magic in my feet to push myself forward and collide with the monster again, this time punching it right across the face. Its head is hit with a wave it can't just walk off. A splatter of blood and eruption of flames ends the match. Use absorption. MCP 22,795. Yes. No. Use absorption. Skill, Berserker. Upgrade, Legendary grade. Yes. No. Stage 5 fight victory. Reward, 210.8045 gold credits. I accept both options, and a ding from my wristband showing the 1% payout for this betting exchange hits a record high. Last night, the payout was just under 40 gold for this round. Now it's over 5 times. People are betting more and more as the rounds go on. I get my 1.10x bet payout back as well, and my platinum balance hits 32.2261. People in the crowd are chanting my fighter name over and over as the announcer continues to yell and hype everyone up to bet more. The announcer speaks to the crowd. For our 6th-stage match tonight, we've brought in a monster from a brand new dungeon to spice things up. Get ready for a very special round. The Flame Emperor will be fighting a level 595 blue wyvern. There's oohs and ahs from the crowd as this name is brought up. The odds start to shift much more than any of the previous matches, giving me a 1.37x payout if I win. I was expecting to fight the same Red Ogre King they had me fight before, but it seems the event planners have something new in store. Maybe this one will be strong enough for me to actually go all out. Full of confidence, I throw 30 platinum on myself and wait for the timer until the fight to run down. I light my fists with flames, but keep my sword ready at my side. It is a new monster at a higher level than me, so it'd be best not to underestimate my opponent before seeing it face to face. White transport magic brings the monster into the ring, and the cheers of the crowd fill the air with excitement. A loud screech slices through the noise as my opponent stares me down and announces to the stadium that our match has begun. Chapter 372. A Blue Wyvern. As the white flash of transport magic brings my opponent into the ring, it spreads its long pale blue wings and jumps high into the air. The ear-shattering screech provokes the crowd to yell louder to match its sound, and I get a good view of the 10-meter-long lizard creature doing circles over my head. It looks very similar to Ember's younger form, only this monster doesn't have front legs. It just has long taloned feet, a white underbelly, and long outstretched wings. Its sharp eyes are locked on me from above, waiting for the perfect time to plummet down and strike. The announcer's voice echoes through the ring as I use appraisal on the level 595 ranked-up creature above. It has 3 skills and 1 ranked-up buff. Active skills: Intimidation, Special grade, Body Hardening, Legendary grade, Combat Magic, Advanced Fire Summoning. Buffs: Blue Wyvern's Inferno. Another screech fills the ring, and it dives down at me, releasing a wave of its intimidation skill. It sends shivers down my spine, just like the first time I felt this skill in the Bloodhound dungeon months ago. I activate my buffs in reply to boost my mental strength as much as possible, counteracting the psychic attack and throwing back a wave of intimidation myself. The invisible waves of energy collide and make a loud cracking sound like thunder, but the monster uses this opportunity to dive down and ignite its body with dark red flames. Its skin shifts colors too as body hardening is activated, shimmering silver beneath its veil of flames. Its wings look like sharpened silver butcher knives falling from the sky. Its entire body is covered with a dense layer of mana shielding as well. I make the split-second decision to grab my sword and brace for impact. Although I'd like to train my chi, there's a time and place for testing. Right now, I need to properly gauge my opponent's strength and guarantee the upper hand before I do any experiments. My entire body ignites with flames, and I swing my blade upward at the monster's incoming attack. On impact, both of us let immense balls of fire go from our advanced fire magic skills, and for a moment the audience can't see a single thing. The whole dome fills with dark flames, and the echoing twang of mana blades colliding keeps everyone on edge. I grit my teeth with pain and excitement, as the edge of the blue wyvern's wing stops the upward motion of my sword. At the same time, the wyvern is shocked that my swing stopped it from crushing me completely. With a wide stance, I stand my ground above the cracked layers of earth below my feet. The monster swoops upward as I begin to activate Lifesteal and Plunderer. I can sense the energy leaving its body, but I hardly manage to take more than 2% of its overall health. The story has been taken without consent. If you see it on Amazon, report the incident. Another loud screech fills the air as the plumes of flames dissipate and both of us stare each other down. This is going to be a long one, isn't it? Another few waves of intimidation come down at me while the wyvern circles in the air waiting for a perfect time to strike. It's taking a lot of energy for me to keep my mental strength buffs activated. Thankfully, the recent upgrade to my Berserker skill to Legendary grade has brought its buff to 125% on both strength and mental strength, but just like the Bloodlust upgrade, it uses up much more mana to activate it now. Timing is everything. The monster dives down a few more times in a similar fashion, trying to tire me out with long-range intimidation and use its claws and wings in an aerial attack, but each time we collide, it's a very even matchup. Massive balls of fire fill the fight dome every time we make contact. I begin using earth and ice to trap it in place, but its mana shielding and raw strength destroy these attempts in an instant each time. After this result, I stick to restoring my MP and stealing small amounts of its HP every time it attacks. After 4 more collisions, the blue wyvern stays high up in the air on 90% HP, thinking of a smarter way to take me out. It realizes mindlessly diving in is a losing battle. As I'm continuously hit with waves of intimidation with no end in sight, I try to come up with a plan of my own. I could use my Red Hydra's buff, but it may wear me out for the next round. I need it to be a failsafe for my fight against the ghoul, so I can't use it here. Plus, using that power isn't why I'm in the ring again tonight. Learning how to use chi is. If I land a solid fist on that monster's defenses, my theory is it would break through its tough shielding and hardening like it's not even there. However, one slip up and I'm done for. I think to myself for a moment, then smirk as an interesting thought comes to mind. A new strategy that will confuse the monster and allow me to test out a unique technique. I'm unsure if it will work exactly how I'm envisioning it, but the logic seems sound. I won't know unless I try. Another intense wave of intimidation comes down on me from above as I grip my blade and prepare to airstep upward. Once taking the mental attack straight up, I jump up to the sky. The wyvern sees this as its opportunity to strike as well. While in the air, it can move with much more agility, and as far as it's concerned, I'm very low on mana. That may be partially true, but the attack I'm trying to throw isn't relying on the power of my magic. I let my legendary swordsmanship skill activate and the silky thread-colored bright red appears in my vision. While taking air steps upward, the crowd all around me disappears from my vision, and the only thing on my mind is my sword, my body, and my enemy. I slow my breathing and concentrate on the chi in my body and how I'd normally throw a punch filled with a raging wave. This time, however, I picture the black sword in my right hand as an extension of myself. With the mental clarity and 100% conviction of my swordsmanship skill, I feel the warm wave of chi flow down my arm, through my wrist, into my fingertips, and fill my sword to its sharp edges. Not a single drop escapes my blade. It's saturated up to the thin outer layer of the blood-bonded weapon, and I've never been so sure about an attack in my life. We collide, and I see the layers of mana and steel-colored body hardening get pushed to the sides of my black sword covered in a dull white glow. Even my own fire magic and mana shielding get pushed aside as the extension of my body. My sword cuts through a portion of the blue wyvern's wing, then lands a deep gash across its entire torso. Blood gushes out, and as my blade leaves its body, I lose concentration out of pure excitement. This causes all of the layers of manipulated and unnaturally twisted mana shielding to release their energy. Both the wyvern and myself are thrown backward in a blast of fire and excess mana. There are two loud thuds as we both hit opposite sides of the mana-shielded dome. An angry screech comes from the wyvern and a light chuckle comes from me. It works. I take advantage of the impact touching the shielding dome and absorb enough MP to bring me back to full. However, my HP has dropped about 10% from that blast. As the flames clear, the flapping of wings alert me to the creature up in the air again. Its wing is injured, and its front side is covered in blood. However, its sharp eyes are filled with conviction, and its bombardment of intimidation continues. I stare up at the beast, replaying the feeling I just felt that attack over and over in my mind. The next goal of this fight is not only to win, but to use that chi-powered sword strike again and master it. Chapter 373. The imagery of white-hot chi energy rushing from my core into my sword repeats over and over in my mind as I stare up at the wyvern dripping blood in circles above me. It continues to throw intimidation attacks down at me over and over, and they seem to be getting stronger with every time it sends one. My MP is full after recharging from the dome's outer wall, so I manage to boost my mental strength with buffs, fending off the psychic bombardment. However, it gets to a point much more powerful than last time, and a light blue glow begins to form around the outside of the hovering creature. Every pulse of energy it sends out starts to become tainted with this blue energy, and the temperature inside the dome begins to rise. I realize it's activating its buff, but have no idea what it's going to do. The blue light around it starts to flicker, then begins to grow in size, and in a matter of seconds, it envelopes its entire body, igniting into a bright blue display of flames. I start to sweat as the ring gets hotter and hotter. The flames in this monster's buff are significantly more intense than the advanced fire magic it was using earlier, potentially more powerful than my own. However, using my all-seeing eye, I can tell it's a 100% mana-based attack. I can still use my trump card and break through any attack it throws at me. The wyvern swoops down, and I brace myself, waiting for it to come. I control my breathing, activate my swordsmanship skill, and allow a wave of chi to flow from my stomach to my sword. A crimson-red string twists around in the sky leading to the wyvern's front side, so I airstep upwards following the path of least resistance. All I hear are the whooshing sounds from my feet, crackling flames around my body, and the crashing wave flashing through my sword. The blue wyvern screeches and erupts into an enormous ball of blue flames as we collide. As predicted, the magic fire is hotter than my own, and the intense concentrated mana embedded in its attack sears through my own flames and eats away at my mana shielding. My arms, legs, and joints where the shielding is the weakest instantly feel like a bucket of lava was poured on them. My gaze is focused on my sword attack, though. Even with a buff over twice as powerful as its previous flames, the black blade infused with chi slices through without a hint of resistance. Its fluorescent blue flames are pushed to the side like leaves in the wind. Its shielding is melted through in the same fashion. Without any doubts or breaks in concentration, I land a much deeper cut this time, severing its right wing almost all the way off its body and making a large X across its chest to match the previous hit. The moment my blade leaves its flesh, I purposefully allow the chi to release, making both of our mana shields become disrupted, and another explosion of red and blue flames throws both of us backward. What felt like buckets of lava on my limbs before now feels like I'm diving straight into a volcano as my body is enveloped in its blue flames. Unauthorized reproduction. This story has been taken without approval. Report sightings. I let out a yell and push all my buffs to the max while summoning layers of ice magic and pure pink mana to put out the flames even before I hit the dome's wall behind me. The wyvern, on the other hand, is having a much more difficult time. As the fires in the rings begin to disperse, It stands up on its two back legs, realizing with a severed right wing and an injured left, its time in the sky is over. It's still flickering with blue fire from its buff, and sending weak waves of intimidation my way, but its last dive bomb took a lot out of it. I hit the ground and don't take a moment to waste. If my enemy is weak, this is no time to relax. Using earth magic to move the ground to my liking and wind to propel me forward faster, I activate swordsmanship again and replicate my chi-infused strike without having to force it. After just 3 tries, and the help of my swordsmanship skill, it feels almost as instinctual as throwing a punch. There isn't even a single sound as my sword slices the helpless monster in half. Its 2 sides fall to the floor, and a barrage of notifications hit my ear from both the system and my wristband. Level up. Level up. Use absorption. Skill intimidation. Upgrade. Legendary. Yes. No. Use absorption. MCP. 930,645. Yes. No. Use absorption. Proficiency points PP1. Yes. No. Congratulations. 1.37x bet 1 on Fighter. The Flame Emperor. Your 30 platinum base bet has been returned to your account. 11.1 platinum credits have been added to your account. Stage 6 fight victory. Reward, 439.8955 gold credits. 439.8955 gold credits have been added to your account. Total account balance, 47.7251 platinum. I accept every notification given, and soon after, the magic residue in the air starts to clear. My eyes scan the text boxes and I get excited to see a proficiency point was finally absorbed from my opponent. This is a special trait from my legendary absorption skill, allowing a 5% chance for me to absorb 1 PP from opponents at a higher level than my own. Although it's not much and I have the ability to upgrade skills if I just find a monster with the same one using absorption, more PP will come in handy if there are unique skills that other monsters don't have. I smirk, looking forward to reading the perks of my upgraded legendary intimidation skill once I have a moment alone, but I don't want to open my status screen in front of so many people and recording devices. The flames finally dissipate, and the announcer yells to the crowd as they erupt into cheers. I give a thumbs up to allow them to move on to stage 7, while using Plunderer to absorb any remaining MP in the air to bring myself up to full before the next round starts. I'm on about 85% HP and have a few burns from the blue flames of that final attack, but don't want to take an HP potion and be accused of cheating. Technically, I could argue that my spatial magic skill is not a storage item, but would not like to expose the fact that I have this skill unnecessarily. I feel fine, but my breathing is a bit heavy. I take a slow lap around the arena while the timer counts down and the betting odds show up for my next fight. As the timer reaches the final 10 seconds, my winning payout is 1.55x. It's nowhere near the massive 5x plus wins I had available to me last night, but I'll be betting more on myself this time around, so I don't mind. To play things safe and leave my balance full, but still make a killing if I win, I throw another 30 platinum on myself and the 7th stage begins. The audience is chanting my name, and the ground rumbles with the excitement from the crowd. A bright white light flashes at the far side of the arena, and a level 688 ghoul appears with a long silver sword, no skills, and the same buff at the bottom of its status, Curse Mark of the Lich King. Standing just over 2.5 meters tall, slowly exuding an orange aura, its eyes lock with mine, and immediately charges at me with incredible speed, far quicker than the wyvern I just faced. I activate all my buffs and raise my sword, then allow swordsmanship and chi infusion to take over my subconscious. No more than 2 seconds after the ghoul teleported into the ring, my blade clashes with its silver sword. The moment they clash, I visibly see the orange energy around the monster slash directly against my chi-infused sword. It feels just like when my fist clashes against monks when we train this morning. However, a new sensation comes over me as I feel the ghoul's soul energy begin to seep into my sword. Before my eyes, the white-hot chi in my blade begins to disintegrate into thin air. Chapter 374. The reaction taking place looks exactly like what happened when I used my Red Hydra's buff on its soul energy in my match against a ghoul last night. The crimson energy melted away the orange aura in an instant, letting my blade slice through the ghoul and defeat it without a problem. Although it is happening at a much slower rate, I can see the ghoul's soul energy disintegrating the chi in my sword. My concentration breaks, and I immediately air-step backward and up in the air to avoid the rest of the motion in the ghoul's swing. The remaining chi that wasn't sucked away trickles back into my core. I can sense less energy within me. It really overpowered me completely using a single attack. I burst into a huge ball of flames to block out the wandering eyes of the audience as I reassess my opponent. Using all my new buffs, I have the upper hand on its speed, power, and agility. On top of that, my Red Hydra's buff can annihilate it in seconds just like Maria did a few rounds ago. However, I need to figure out why my chi attack was negated so easily. Is our power gap really that wide? I hit the ground again and start to zigzag over to the ghoul as it runs at me, covered in an orange aura swinging its silver sword. My breathing slows down as I channel more chi into my blade and allow my swordsmanship skill to form the perfect attack. Meanwhile, all my buffs are enhancing my speed, power, and precision to dodge the monster's incoming blade and land a slash right into its torso. A wide-open gash appears across its side, erupting into a huge ball of flames. But the look of dissatisfaction on my face as I skid to a halt on the other side of the ring tells the full story. The moment my chi-infused sword sinks into its orange aura, the same reaction takes place. My mana-based attack hits its flesh, causing a fiery explosive result. But every drop of chi in my blade melts away, as it is engulfed by the monster's soul energy aura. Just like our match before, the ghoul quickly heals its torn-up flesh without a moment to waste and comes running at me again like nothing happened. The sensation of my energy being ripped away twice now repeats over and over in my head. I activate all my buffs and dodge its incoming strike, not countering, just thinking to myself while air-stepping to the far side of the ring. This buff must be really powerful. Or maybe my chi is just that weak? I took out a nearly level 600 wyvern just minutes ago, so the latter can't be it. My chi isn't weak. Just like the power from the Red Hydra is shared with me, it must be getting a lot of shared energy from a higher being. The Lich King. Maybe there's a way to overpower it without activating my buff. Just like mana control, maybe chi just needs to be used in much denser points with less surface area, or possibly just more volume of chi overall. I won't know unless I try. The ghoul comes running at me for another attack, and I decide to take it on this time to test my new theories out. First, after outmaneuvering the monster again, I try to push the wave of hot energy into a more finite point in my blade as I slice through the ghoul's white flesh. The story has been taken without consent. If you see it on Amazon, report the incident. I focus on the feeling I used every time I would move up a skill level in training with Monk, especially when using chi for fine movements and footwork. Using denser amounts in smaller surface areas gives a much more powerful effect. The majority of the chi in my attack here is positioned all to the tip of my blade. As it makes contact with the orange veil of energy, the small dense tip of chi pushes it inward for a fraction of a second. Instead of sinking in, the aura of the ghoul is pushed to the side, just like the weaker mana-imbued energy all around us. However, it fails to make it to the ghoul's skin as the surrounding pressure of soul energy evaporates the incoming chi before I can successfully land the attack. Another explosion of fire follows as a gash is made in the monster's side and healed moments later. I'm partly discouraged that attack didn't do any damage, but also very excited to see there are limits to its power. My own chi can scratch the surface. Knowing this, it's time to open up the floodgates. I smirk, eyeing down my opponents again as we both run at each other. After taking the chi pill from Monk, my stores of energy seem to be filled to the brim. Used conservatively, this could last hours of intense fighting. Even against an opponent like the Blue Wyvern, if there were many of them in a ring, I could easily go a few hours using only the chi stores I have left in me. When chi is thrown with a punch or swung in a sword, most of the energy trickles back into my core after using the attack. Only trace amounts leave my skin or blade on contact. However, this ghoul is different. Every time I touch its aura, the entirety of my attack is taken away, and my core is being drained at a rapid rate. Just from the last 3 attacks, already 1/10 of my stores are completely depleted. It's an odd sensation, but one I need to embrace to continue this fight. If dense attacks work, maybe I just need to use a bit more chi to increase the volume too. In our next exchange, I allow over 3 times as much chi to flow through my blade, oversaturating it to the point where energy stays in my wrist and arm still while throwing the attack. This nears my limit. The movement feels much heavier, and not as natural, but using my swordsmanship perk, I still manage to keep it on target and maintain a peaceful state of mind while making contact with its aura. The same thing happens as it did on my previous attack, only just a bit more. The edge of my blade pushes the orange soul energy away for a fraction of a second before it's fully engulfed and dissipated, and the fiery blast concludes our exchange. We turn to each other and try again. Each time I swing my sword, I try to add just a little more chi into the attack and compress it into the tip of the blade as much as I can. We clash half a dozen more times before I take a breather to stop. The crowd is roaring loudly. As to them, it looks like an intense battle with fireballs and sword clashes is taking place. To me, it's been a fruitful string of experiments that have led me to one conclusion. I'm too weak. My MP stores are at 20% and my chi is just below 40%. I could absorb mana from the arena dome and continue, but from the fact that my last 2 attacks have been identical, and both of them hardly push through 25% of the monster's orange aura, at most makes me believe no matter how hard I try, that soul energy is too strong. I need many hours of practice and a new style or technique to make any actual progress. I take a deep breath in and out as the ghoul screeches and runs at me, sensing the fact that my guard is down. In this moment, I activate my Red Hydra's rage buff and run forward covered in a veil of crimson energy, slicing the ghoul into pieces without a hint of resistance. Before my buff is even activated for a full second, I turn it off and the ringing sound of notifications fills my ears, and cheers from the crowd overpower the loud voice announcing me as the winner. Congratulations! 1.55x bet 1 on Fighter. The Flame Emperor. Your 30 platinum base bet has been returned to your account. 16.5 platinum credits have been added to your account. Stage 7 fight victory. Reward: 1.6450 platinum credits. 1.6450 platinum credits have been added to your account. Total account balance: 65.8701 platinum. Level up. 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 117 out of 1,000 mutant ghouls defeated. I'm hit with a wave of exhaustion post-buff, but manage to stand my ground and wave to the crowd as the rest of the flames clear. This was a good eye-opener for me to see I have quite a ways to go. I need to train with Monk much more to get my attack power magnitudes higher before I'll get a chance to take a ghoul down with my chi alone. The announcer asks if I'd like to move on to the 8th stage, but I show 2 thumbs down. The crowd is more than happy enough to end on an epic battle like that. I was so concentrated in my own world trying to figure out how to use my new power that I didn't realize I just put on one of the most entertaining high-stakes performances of the night. The cheers of the crowd and yelling announcer fade from my senses as I'm teleported back into the underground training room. My mind switches from wondering how I'll be able to raise my chi capacity with Monk to wondering how fast I can get to Elan's moon bar to finally speak with Maria. Chapter 375. Slow claps from Max, one of the legacy fighters, come my way as he speaks up in a cheerful voice. Another interesting show from you. Tonight was one of the biggest events I've ever seen, and as the closing act, you didn't disappoint. I was worried you'd end it in a single move like last time, but it seems you really do know how to put on a show. I shrug, walking off the platform and replying. With the money they're throwing down tonight, I had to give them what they paid for. Everyone in the training room glances down at their platinum-covered wristbands, agreeing with my statement, not knowing that stretching that final fight was not intentional by any means. Max speaks up again. Round 2 at Elan's place? What do you say? Ace bought last time. How about drinks and food on me tonight? I smile beneath my mask. I'm going there anyway, so there's no point in saying no. Why not? I'm down for another night out. Both Ace and Sia congratulate me on my flashy victory too, and we make our way over to Mr. Wright in his bright white suit at the back of the room. Many of the newbie fighters stare at us in awe and fear, not knowing how to properly react to fighters so far out of their league. I can see many of them tremble in fear, and a few from the midday fights that stuck around in the training room actually faint as we walk by. I've never seen such a reaction before, but maybe they're just still worn out from the match. Their wristbands notice that their vitals have been altered, and a few are teleported out of the room to what I can only assume is a medical facility. My eyebrows are scrunched and a confused look is plastered on my face beneath my mask. Then I get a nudge in the side from Sia and a whisper. You know that match is over, turn off whatever ability you're using. The fighters that can't use mana control are having a hard time handling it. I'm even more shocked at her comment, until I activate my perception skills to scan the room and sense that she's right. There's a very dense and menacing aura coming off of me. However, I'm not activating any skills on purpose. I try to calm my breathing and turn off my mana, but despite that, the rippling aura striking fear into the newbie fighters won't stop. I conclude it must be a passive skill trait of some sort. The only thing that heavily suppresses it is putting up a thin but very dense wall of mana shielding around my whole body. However, I decide to stop this as it drains my MP at a rapid rate. I could take in energy from the shielding in the training room, but if anyone noticed, that'd raise too many questions for my liking. Ace laughs and speaks up too. Nah, keep it activated. Shows them that there's levels to this fight game. I nod at Ace, keeping it activated because I still don't know how to turn it off. The pressure being sent out feels almost as intuitive as breathing. Now that I am aware of it, though, I can tell it's using up MP at a very slow rate, about 1 point per minute. I naturally regenerate MP at about the same rate, and with ambient mana in the atmosphere almost everywhere I go, I use plunder in small amounts to stay at full anyway, so it's not going to be a problem. Unauthorized use. This story is on Amazon without permission from the author. Report any sightings. My best guess right now is it has something to do with my intimidation skill upgrade. It feels like I'm sending out weak waves of intimidation without even trying, but I'll know for sure later when I'm in private. Wright is having a hard time handling the mental pressure I'm putting out, but he doesn't say a word and carries on business as usual. Monk's voice sounds in a low tone behind me as he's waited for everyone else to get out of line before approaching. Here, a gift for you after a great match. I turn to see him holding a small silver container in his hand. I take it politely and reply, thanks. It was harder than I thought it'd be. He shows me a thin smile, speaking in a low tone only I can hear. Yes, you've come far, but there is a long way to go. Come meet me in the Platinum District tomorrow if you wish to continue what we started. I already gave you the key so you can come in whenever you'd like. Enjoy your night out. He bows and I nod back, moving out of line back to the Legacy Fighters as he checks in with Mr. Wright for tomorrow's event too. Sounds good. The crowds of people above us make their way out of the stadium, and we wait patiently by the stairs. Out of curiosity, I open up the silver box Monk gave me with my back to the wall. It seems to be made of normal steel, not a special containment case, and inside, I can sense a large amount of chi from within it. Once my gaze reaches the inside of the small container, my suspicions are proven right. I see about a dozen chi pills on one half of the box, on the other, a small bar of smooth black stone. I didn't sense its presence before, but once I see it, I know what it is and place a finger on the bar. In an instant, the world becomes dull, the wristband on my arm becomes transparent, and the aura around me ceases to emanate such a monstrous force. A few sighs of relief follow around the room, but just to confirm what I felt, I take my finger off and all of my mana senses come back. The aura returns too. I smirk inwardly, then take the bar out from the case, placing it in an inner pocket of my cloak and maintaining a small amount of contact on it to suppress my mana. Sia stares at me with a half-annoyed stare and Ace struggles to keep in his laughter as another one of the new fighters faints from the small burst of aura I put out after he let down his guard when he thought it was finally over. I guess I'll be holding on to this until I can figure out how to control this new passive intimidation buff. Eventually, The crowds clear and we're brought up to the empty arena. Mr. Wright manually registers each one of us to get through the gate and happily sends us off on our way. As we walk through the Gold District, the Legacy Fighters ask a few questions about how I beat the 7th stage monster and also ask about what Monk gave me, but I dodge both questions and they decide not to pry. Soon, they forget all about it and the conversation then turns into what kind of gear they're going to buy with the massive winnings from the fights today. Ace says he's looking to get a new sword. Max wants a set of bonded armor but needs to find a reliable ranked-up craftsman to make it. And Sia is hoping to find enhancement crystals to raise her base stats by a few points to get past the 6th stage more consistently. I raise an eyebrow at her words, as she says sometimes they show up at the auction house, but very rarely and it'd cost her whole platinum balance. These crystals seem very interesting to me, and I'd like to know what she's talking about in the future. However, I don't interject as I have even more important things on my mind. We enter the same red gates of the restaurant after Max pays for the premium service, costing 20 gold in total. The young white-haired woman leads us through the dimly lit tables over to the place setting with the large tree overhead we sat at last night. Once within very close range of the tree, I release my finger from the piece of stone in my pocket and put up a dense mana shielding around my entire body instantaneously. I activate my concealment skill to alter my face and take off my mask as well. With the overflowing amount of mana in the air, it doesn't take much effort to keep my aura suppressed while rejuvenating my MP bar from the tree above our table. I still let out some pressure, but anyone over level 100 won't be affected. It's nowhere near the same aura that made level 300 to 400 fighters faint just being nearby. The moment we sit down, everyone begins to order, so I do too. Sinking my back into the soft seat cushions allows me to let out a sigh of relief and while typing in details to order a feast from my wristband. Once our food comes and the first round of drinks are gulped down, the joyful laughs and shenanigans begin. My demeanor changes to fit in with the group, but inwardly I begin scanning the restaurant for my teammate. She told me to come here, but never specified where she'd be and when she'd arrive. In the meantime, I enjoy the good food and pure source of mana. It takes well over 2 hours before I sense the presence of a level 612 ice magic user appear nearby. Chapter 376. A woman with long flowing blonde hair, fair skin, and piercing blue eyes approaches our table. The status readings I'm getting from the woman say without a shadow of a doubt, it's the same person I met in the arena. The advanced ice magic, red Hydra's buff, and unforgettable blue eyes seal the deal. However, the altered facial features, slight body type changes, an item on her hand that shows up with my appraisal skill, but isn't present on her status labeled Ring of Total Alteration. Seems to be just like the ring of concealment I used to wear a suit. However, hers changes her facial features. The moment she comes over to the table, she waves at every one of us and smiles wide. The way she carries herself shifts from stiff and serious to overly bubbly. I open up my telepathic link with her, and she immediately answers. Play along. I need a believable excuse to have actually met you in case I was tailed. The corner of my lip curls up as I realize it's all an act. She speaks out loud to all of us, but fixes her drunken gaze on me. Fellow Legacy Fighters, care if I take a seat to celebrate our victory? Max's eyes widen as Maria slides into the red booth right next to me without waiting for an answer. He lets out a laugh, looking at me, then back to her. The Ice Empress? It's you. He chomps down on his bite and washes it down with another gulp of his drink. What are the odds? Sia interjects in a low tone. It must be, Elin wouldn't have let anyone else near our table. Her or Monk, and I doubt this is what that brute looks like out of the ring. Ace smirks at Sia's joke and is the only one who replies to Maria's question. Sure, join us. We're almost done here anyway. But a fellow strong fighter is always welcome. He leans in over the table to grab another bottle. I shrug and turn to Maria. Fine by me dash. Before I can finish my sentence, I get a tight hug from Maria and a loud voice echoes through our link. Good to see you're doing well. I knew you'd make it out of there alive. I squeeze her back and she speaks out loud to please those watching. The Flame Emperor. Your performance was amazing. I've been looking all over for you. I let out a chuckle but reply inwardly through our link. Happy to see you safe and sound too. Then, give a response out loud. Nice to meet you too. Your fight was impressive. We stay embraced for a bit longer than strangers should, but the drunken act that Maria plays off is impeccable. She continues letting out a bubbly laugh, and details a backstory of how she saw the Flame Emperor on her wristband while visiting town from Solara and how she needed a last-minute name to see if that 7th stage was as hard as the rumors made it. These tales are followed by another few rounds of shots, and it's more than enough to dissuade the other legacy fighters from digging too deep into the situation. Stolen from Royal Road, this story should be reported if encountered on Amazon. Apparently new strong fighters come through town pretty often. In their intoxicated state, Maria's story seems like a plausible scenario. Before another hour passes, the midnight tax dings in all our ears, deducting 1 gold credit from our wallets. The rate of drinks earlier has made the 3 legacy fighters much drowsier than when we first came in here, and less than 30 more minutes after midnight pass before talks of hitting the hay to rest up for tomorrow's fights come up. Each of them leaves to their respective rooms, one by one, Ace being the last to go with a final shot and a salute before both Maria and I let out long sighs and I pull up my wristwatch window to find the premium feature called Ping the Host. I press it and speak out loud to Maria. Now that we're alone, let's get a room for the night. She nods, and before she can even reply, the outline of the restaurant owner approaches our table from the darkness. I turn to her and ask for the most secure silent room she has available. I remember you told me you could make it seem like we're not even here. Elin nods and taps her wristband with a thin smile. A few moments later a ding pops up on mine, asking for 5 additional gold. Next to it is labeled Secure Room plus excess mana usage. I roll my eyes, silently cursing my new perk's ability to drain thousands of MP while concealing it with shielding. But accept. We both follow the woman from our table up to the rooms where I stayed last night. She brings us upstairs, and Maria puts on quite the act with wobbly steps and giggles all the way to the end of the hall upstairs before 2 sets of mana shielding imbued doors open up to show a premium suite. There's a living area with fancy furniture, then a master bedroom with a single massive bed connected to the main area without any door. There isn't a single window in sight, but there are holograms projecting a city view onto the walls to make it feel real. She turns away and speaks while leaving. Enjoy your stay. Maria and I walk in and the mana-imbued doors close behind us. I activate my Hush skill to make a precautionary layer of security, then scan the room to double-check for recording devices or extra pockets of energy and find it's completely empty. I deactivate all my skills except the Hush bubble and fall right onto the comfortable couch in the center of the living room. My real face is revealed and the monstrous aura from my intimidation skill is let out. Maria does a similar thing, sitting back on the couch beside me and taking off her ring. I let out a sigh and look up to finally see her real face. She looks even older and more mature. It's a similar change to the one time she took that upgrade crystal. I blurt out my thoughts. You've changed. A lot. She chuckles, curiously looking at my face. Her eyes track all around my body before replying in a bubbly drunken fashion. You've changed quite a bit too. Her smile is a bit too wide, and her gaze seems to be going right through me. Then I realize her drunken state might not actually be an act anymore. I sit up straight and look her in the eyes, concentrating on one of my buffs I haven't gotten the chance to test out yet. The moment I think of Rising Emperor's Domain, a blue text box appears above Maria's head, only available in my mind's eye, asking yes or no if I'd like to activate my buff. I can sense the range has grown quite a bit since I last thought of this buff. It's almost 20 meters in diameter. It encompasses most of the restaurant, enough for close-range combat, or in this case, using it on someone in the same room or general vicinity. I choose yes, and a list of all of my skills appear. I choose Self-Regeneration, Special Grade, and the moment I do, Maria's eyes widen. Excitement fills me for a moment too, as this is a sign it's working. I speak up. Accept it if you want to have a much clearer head. We have a lot more to talk about than just how good each of us looks. The moment she accepts it, I can see the gloss clear from her eyes and her posture straightens more, but her cheerful attitude stays exactly the same. The passive poison resistance nullifies her drinks for the night. What kind of skill is that? It's my ranked up buff. I haven't been able to use it much yet because we've all been separated. It lets me share my skills with anyone that trusts me and acknowledges they're on my team. Looks like it worked on you without having to ask. Maria opens up her status and turns it to me. It's there. A new skill. I didn't even know that was possible. It's really there. How many more could I add? Is it unlimited? Is it only temporary? I let out a laugh, also excited to see the self-regeneration special grade skill show up on her status. I haven't tested it much yet. It is temporary though. We'll need to try some things out once we get the chance. However, there are some more urgent details I'd like to ask you. There's a pause and silence in the room. I continue. Like how we got here in the first place? From the battle in Solara to here and now, I need a full explanation. Chapter 377. We sit in the middle of the living room of the premium suite, and Maria recounts the events of the past week in full detail. The fact that my ranked-up buff worked on her without any resistance, and the plumes of green energy coming off of her from my lie detector skill reassure me that everything she's saying is the truth and her mind isn't altered in any way. She goes over the battle that took place at the observatory, and I'm impressed with their quick and powerful victory. Maria begins to explain what happened after they went back to the house. Then, a man named Lithgaleheart showed up at the door once we got back to Chester's home. He said he knew you and gave us an ultimatum with an offer we'd be stupid to refuse. I raise an eyebrow, not liking the sound of this, but let Maria continue. Go on. What did he offer? Well, Lith said we could come with him and he'd fix the mess we made. That includes faking our deaths, giving us the means to get stronger, and the opportunity to become forces of political pull in the world to make sure scenarios like the one we just left never happen again. She pauses. Sometimes punching things in the face isn't the best way to solve every problem. Although the offer sounds good, a lot of things aren't adding up still. Okay, and if you refused? What's the other option? How'd he get everyone to accept and come here so easily? Maria lets out a sigh. Well, the other option was for him to just walk away and let us deal with the situation we created on our own. He never forced us to come to Valor City. He just gave us the option. I think about what we'd do if we were still in Sector 4 right now, and the gears in my head start to turn as a fascinating idea fills my mind. Maria continues as my eyes start to sparkle with curiosity. We killed 2 out of the 4 main powers on this continent over a single kidnapping. These powers maintain peace, order, and massive trade deals across this continent and even to cities outside the walls. For anyone connected to the association, or with advanced intel on missions, our fingerprints are all over their disappearances. With no help, we'd be on the run for the rest of our lives. Permanent enemies of the Dark Continent underground leaders and the Hunters Association worldwide network. This content has been misappropriated from Royal Road. Report any instances of this story if found elsewhere. I nod slowly, and the room fills with silence. Takes me about 30 seconds to formulate my thoughts before replying. So what you're saying is, someone needs to fill those 2 empty leadership positions. Maria grins. Exactly. She reaches into a small item box by her side and pulls out 2 teleport crystals, tossing me one. These will take us directly into the inner wall undetected, straight into the Galeheart Tower. Lith would like to formally meet you. Abby should be just about done with her training for today too. I catch the crystal and toss it up and down in my hand before replying immediately. What about everyone else? Ari, Fisher, Lydia, and even Chester? What happened to all of them? They're all out on missions of their own to make preparations for what's to come. It will take quite a while, but we've got a pretty good head start going while you were asleep and healing. A lot can get done in a week. She looks at me in the eyes and keeps talking. Ari and Chester went back to Sector for not too long ago. Ari has been power leveling him in the dungeons out there to raise his base stats up high enough to fend off low-level thugs if needed. Meanwhile, Chester has been using all of his old business connections to fix up the underground lair beneath Solara. With some extra funding from the Galeheart Guild, They reinstalled even more powerful shielding and security to the whole place in a matter of days. My eyes widen at the thought. So that means Chester is taking the place of the new Sector 4 leader. Maria shrugs and laughs a little. Who else would be better for the job? He knows every merchant and every crook in the city already. After Ari pushes him over level 400, he trains the guards sent over by the Galeheart Guild and throws on a mask. It'll be like nothing ever changed. My shock turns to a smile. Then I speak up again with another question on my mind. What about Fisher and Lydia? Where are they off to if not in Sector 4 or here training with Abby? They went to scout out the Sector 2 region. Even Lith said most of it is a mystery to him. Many of the scouts he sent out over the last few years just went missing or turned back before getting any information on the region. The old leader didn't like visitors. I scrunch my eyebrows, remembering the mysterious Sector 2 leader I fought with the mythic grade crafting skill. That's where a lot of the rare items were produced and shipped out from, right? Meaning soon supply will be very limited, and the demand will only rise. Maria nods. Yup, we still haven't heard much back from them, only a few transmissions. They haven't made it to the capital city yet. The sector size is similar to the fourth, so it figures they're taking time to note down everything important. Both of them have transport crystals, so they'll be back once all the proper intel is recorded. After this, my mind races to the only logical conclusion. I could take the craftsman's place and be the leader of Sector 2. Lith wants our help taking over the region. Whether he knows about the fact that I have the mythic grade skill or not, it doesn't matter. The guild leader's intentions are pretty clear. However, that's a lot of responsibility, and with such immense help from the Galeheart Guild, this must all come with an overwhelming cost. Nothing in this world is ever free. I tighten my gaze at the floor, thinking deeply to myself, then finally look up. What's in it for Lith? Is this all in exchange to help him fight against the Sector 1 leader? Does he want us to work under him? He's sending out subordinates to work for Chester in Sector 4. Will he do the same for all the other sectors? Are we just pawns in his master plan, playing along for a small slice of the pie? Maria looks at me with a troubled but curious stare. Then, replies, I'm not sure. These are good questions. She lifts up the transport crystal in line with my gaze. There's only one way to find out. Ask him yourself. Chapter 378. I stare at the shimmering crystal in Maria's hand. With a million questions still on my mind after the hour-long conversation we just had catching up on everything my teammates have been through while I was away. Now, I finally have a way into the inner walls of the city, but I'm hesitant to make the first move. How will we get back out? Won't a sudden transport into the city's inner walls alert the wristband system that we're not where we're supposed to be? Maria gets up from the couch. You're right, we'll leave the city and transport in from outside the walls. Getting out is the easy part. There's a private teleport platform in the Galeheart Tower that connects to the station in the town below the mountain that can be used at any time. Leaving is the easy part. The room goes silent as my curiosity hits an all-time high. It's a roundabout method, but the logic adds up. I nod in approval and stand up to move toward the door. Fine, let's go then. Maria follows close behind, putting on her ring of total alteration while I put up a strong mana shield along with my concealment skill to alter my face. Both doors open, and we walk out together into the dimly lit hall from the private suite. I feel a warm hand interlock between my fingers, easily bypassing my layer of mana shielding and putting up her own to keep the seal of intimidation energy constant. My gaze falls down to Maria holding my hand, but her grip only tightens and a whisper comes from her lips. Don't overthink it. I just missed you while you were gone. Don't pull anything stupid like that again without warning me first. Her face blushes slightly, but in the dim light and concealment items, it's hard to tell if I'm imagining it. I come to realize I really didn't leave many clues behind when I decided to self-destruct my body double to win that fight back in Solara. My teammates had to have faith that I'd come back with no solid proof I was still alive. My mouth opens, and I look her in the eyes, but don't reply for a few seconds. I'll try my best to make sure that won't happen again. We walk down the hall and make our way to the exit. Every table is empty, and the concentration of mana in the air has lowered to save energy while customers aren't around. A familiar woman's voice rings out as we step toward the restaurant's exit. Thank you again for stopping by. I hope both of you enjoyed your stay. Come back anytime. Elend's white outline is visible as we leave the restaurant, walking out into the cool nighttime air with bright stars overhead. If you encounter this story on Amazon, note that it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. Making our way back through the Gold District is quick, and neither of us say a word to each other. We just enjoy the company in the silent night. My mind is still racing over all the information Maria just dropped on me about the Dark Continent takeover plan. Up until now, I've only ever had to worry about myself. My only goals have been to survive until tomorrow and to be a stronger fighter after every battle. This focused and single-minded mentality is what has gotten me this far. Changing what's working is a scary thought. Maybe, just maybe, if I just get even stronger, it's a thought I won't have to worry about anymore. However, the window has been opened in my mind again. The reality that my new enemies are much bigger than just a strong monster in front of me is starting to sink in. The night sky always makes my thoughts go wild. As I ponder my new fate, the guards led us through to the outermost walls of the city. The walk through the Silver District goes just as quickly as the gold. Most of the shops are closed and their lights are out, but the mana-powered street lamps on every corner still dimly light up the whole area. We make it to the final outer wall of the city and are met by two silver-armored guards. They both step forward and speak to each of us separately but in unison. Thank you for visiting Valor City. We hope you enjoyed your stay. Would you like to save your credit ID for another stay, or cash out what you have in your account? Maria replies, "Cash out, please." So I repeat the same thing to the guard in front of me. "I'd like to cash out too." Both of the guards bring a tablet to our wristbands, and they glow light green before a white flash of light that feels like transport magic envelopes the entire tablet. My eyes widen at the sight before me on top of the tablet the guard is holding. There are piles of thin rectangular platinum bars and a mountain of gold coins beside them. In the same flash of white, the wristband on my hand turns clear, then breaks in half, falling off my wrist and to the floor. Here is your 65.8201 platinum balance, paid out in full. We look forward to seeing you in the city again soon. My head turns to Maria as she collects a sum of precious metals about a quarter of the size, but still enough to set up a normal family for generations. She throws the platinum bars and gold into her item box, and I do the same. I count all 65 of the small shiny bars and shovel the gold into my item storage beneath my clothing as the doors open, showing the long trail down the mountain. In the same motion, I decide to push the silver container holding my chi pills and block of black stone into my item storage. It disappears and sits inside like any other item without a problem. Both of us walk off, and the large metal doors close behind with a thud. 65 platinum, not bad. I was wondering if you were betting all in on yourself every match. That answers my question. She lets out a chuckle as we continue to walk down the mountain. The lights of Valor City fade away until it's nothing but a faint glow, and we're walking through the wilderness under the gaze of no one but the night sky. Maria is the first to speak up. "I think we're far enough away. We won't cause any disturbances teleporting from here." I take out the transport crystal from my storage, and Maria does the same. Without saying another word, we both crush the crystals in our fists, and a blink of white light brings us into a white room with no ability to sense the outside world at all. The air is so dense with mana I can't help but start plundering it. My eyes begin to focus, and I see the outline of two men in suits behind a white desk fall over onto the ground to either side of where they're sitting. I curse under my breath as the instant we were teleported in here, my mana shielding was disrupted and a pulse of intimidation energy was released. The moment I start to walk over and apologize with a friendly expression across my face, two black suits of armor emerge from white doors that open in the walls. I reach into my item storage to pull out my sword on the spot. The small wave of energy I was letting out before is a drop in the ocean compared to the wave of fury that erupts from my body when my real intimidation skill is actually activated along with every one of my stat-enhancing buffs. One could say I'm overreacting, but the sight of two royal guards emerging from nowhere in a concealed room is not the welcoming invite I was expecting to receive. Chapter 379. The men on the ground begin foaming at the mouth, while the two royal guards freeze in place as my wave of buff-enhanced legendary intimidation hits them. They don't move a muscle as I run forward with my sword trailing black flames. Given a few more fractions of a second, I would have turned on my red Hydra's buff and sliced the two guards clean in two, but a familiar voice echoes through the white-walled room, causing me to stop my attack. Enough, enough. You always do seem to keep things lively wherever you go, don't you? As a third door at the back of the room opens up from a flat wall, the tall, fair-skinned, blue-eyed hunter walks toward me, the corner of his mouth turned upward. Clear wisps of magic flow from his fingertips in the form of miniature tornadoes, lightly bringing both the men on the floor to their feet. In the same gusts of air, green potions float over and tilt into the men's mouths before they both begin coughing and open their eyes back to reality. At the sight, I turn my high mana consumption buffs down and intimidation skill off, but keep my sword pointed straight ahead and eyes locked on the frozen royal guards at the back of the room. What do you expect? I come in here and get attacked seconds after being invited. Litha's curved lip breaks into a smile before he replies. Well, you knocked out my lobby men, so of course my royal guards came in to see what the issue was. He looks left and right over his shoulders at both of them, the guards still trembling from the wave of magic that just shocked their systems. While this goes down, I attempt to do a status scan on all of them, but the readings I get back are exactly the same as the last time I tried. LV 824. Active items. A. Access denied. Active skills. A. Access denied. Buffs. A. Access denied. The two guards show levels of 605 and 606. Their items, skills, and buffs have access denied written all over them too. He replies after confirming his guards aren't permanently harmed. It seems you weren't in any real danger if you can freeze two of my guards with a mental attack in mere seconds. He looks at me curiously, then continues to speak. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. If you were that combative from just the sight of a few royal guards, it appears you know more than I thought already. The Origin worshippers didn't make me look too bad, did they? He takes a step forward as I raise an eyebrow at his remark. Origin worshippers? You mean? How do you know I went in dash? Lith brings his hand up in the air again, and the tall walls around us change color to dark black with hints of white light. It looks as if the night sky is all around us. Seconds later, the view shifts, and moving images of the city in a fast-paced slideshow begin to zoom in and out of all angles of the city. It looks like a video recording of the entire town, just like the arena. A few lonely souls roam the streets, and some are still at some of the bars drinking in the Golden District. I whisper under my breath. Real-time surveillance. But how? I couldn't sense a thing. The images cease, and a massive circular map of the city shows up on the ceiling for us all to look up at. Hundreds of tiny red dots cover it. Each of them has an ID number and a credit balance next to it. Lith zooms in and out at each one. It's not exactly video surveillance. The system is a bit more unique than that. You see, each wristband tracks the user's ID and money usage, but there's no way to physically see or hear what you're saying just from the wristbands. My eyebrows scrunch in as the 2D map of the city rotates into a 3D model, and a visual recreation of sonar-like waves are being sent from the walls, lamplights, and storefronts. The ripples of energy overlap on each other, bouncing off the structures and people between each wall. The sonar beams are eventually caught by a transparent mana-imbued overarching dome above the city. Lith speaks again. The only picture we ever take of you is when you enter from outside the walls. Our advanced pattern recognition security system uses that image to accurately recreate exact images of individuals based on where their wristband is located in the city at all times. The only way out of the eyes of the surveillance is behind strong walls of mana. He points to the walls around us. Or a place where mana can't be found. The holographic picture on the wall shifts to show the black pyramid-shaped structure in the Platinum District, with an image of Monk and me walking in and disappearing into thin air the moment we touched the inside wall. Then it shifts again to show Maria and me walking into the suite just a few hours ago. We disappeared into an indistinguishable white box the moment the mana-shielded door closed behind us. Lith continues, I'm not the only one with access to the surveillance system, so just try to be a bit more careful within these walls. He lets out a sigh. Anyway, how about you come upstairs and we have a talk? I assume you have a mountain of questions for me. My eyes are still open wide at the tech Lith just showed me. The fact that I couldn't sense any advanced surveillance systems, but felt like there were always a light set of eyes on me makes much more sense now. But it's even less settling to think about now that this is the fact. Yes, I have quite a few. The same door Lith walked in from opens in the back of the lobby area, and he turns around motioning for me to follow. I turn to Maria. You come too, whatever is discussed. I'd like everyone to be in on it as a team. She nods and follows with a smile, and we walk through a door into a smaller white rectangle that rises quickly the moment all of us are inside. No more than 2 seconds pass, before it feels like we've risen hundreds of meters in the air. I get a slight head rush, and my stomach drops, but I keep my composure as the door opens and Lith walks out into an impressive-looking office. There's art on the side walls, fancy-looking furniture, and racks of armor and magic items all surpassing B-grade rating. The back wall of the office is a blank white wall with a large desk and a few comfortable couches facing it. As we walk over, Lith snaps his finger and the wall behind his desk projects a hologram of what an incredible view looking down on Valor City would look like from a tall building in the center of the inner wall. 3 curved layers of platinum, gold, then silver-tinted walls and establishments look tiny from up here. I'm almost lost in the beauty of human architecture before finally sitting down on a comfortable white couch next to Maria while Lith sits at his desk facing us. I cross my arms, and Lith picks up a silver-colored, thin tablet device from a drawer in his desk. He speaks. Jay, nice to finally meet you face to face for a real chat. Let's get down to business. Chapter 380. Lith repeats most of what Maria already told me back in the hotel suite, just in case anything was missed, recapping where Ari, Chester, Lydia, and Fisher have been. Then he gets to the point. So, my offer to you, as objectively the strongest and most versatile member of your group, is to offer you the position of the new Sector 2 leader. There's a pause, but he expands on the point. I have a team of craftsmen that could work under you, and some of the old leader's business dealings could be mended if someone were to step up and take the leadership position in the Sector 2 region. I stay silent and let him continue his offer, despite my clear hesitation to accept. We have all the contact information and trade deals from Sector 4 and Sector 1. With Chester in control of the underground market there soon enough, business may resume, and with me being a large buyer in Sector 1, business will go back to nearly normal here. There just needs to be new negotiations done in Sector 3, the Vice region, and the Apex region. My eyebrows raise at the sound of this. Lith sees my surprised look and continues his explanation. The Sector 3 region is mostly a farming region. A lot of food products come out of that region and supply the entire Dark Continent. They're a simple and peaceful sector. As long as a contract is set, I'm sure a new trade deal can be met. The Vice region, which you're all very familiar with, may be a harder ask. The contact for trade deals is Brutus, your previous handler. You'll need a damn good disguise or separate team that I can provide to renegotiate that deal. They bought mostly upgrade crystals and enhancement items. With a team of a few legendary craftsmen, this can be handled. However, some of the multi-enchanted custom gear orders won't be able to be carried out with the old leader gone. That goes for the Apex region too. With all of the highest grade hunters for the association staying there, most of the orders were only special enchants, so striking a new deal with them may be out of the question. Though it's worth a try. Lith lets out a long sigh. That means we won't be getting any more unique armor or high-grade concealment items either. I don't know of any craftsman on par with his expertise. However, it's not worth getting upset about now. What's done is done. It was good while it lasted. We sit in silence for a moment. Then I finally speak up in a slightly angered tone. You expect me to do business with the Vice-Regent? With Brutus? That old backstabber? The guy who sold out our mission information and screwed me and all my teammates over into this whole mess to begin with. I start sitting up from the couch, but Maria holds my left arm back. So I sit back down after taking a deep breath in and out. Lith goes on. Raise the prices on them, make them an offer they can't refuse, or just don't do business with the Vice-Regent if you really feel passionate about it. He shrugs. I'm not here to force you into anything. I'm just giving you the option to reconnect Sector 2 with that trade partner if you wish. I ponder the thought, but not even considering this fact. There's way too much that makes no sense in this offer to me. Why are you even giving me these options? We met on a whim a week ago. Now you're offering to help me take over half of the Dark Continent with no strings attached. This doesn't seem like a smart business decision for you on the surface. There has to be a hidden agenda. I don't feel comfortable accepting this at all. If you come across this story on Amazon, it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. Yes, I see how it looks on the surface, but think about your unique position for a moment. We both stare at each other. My gaze is full of confusion and a hint of anger, while Lith's is filled with confidence and hopefulness. He continues, Our city has been completely taken over by the Dark One. Before it came, I was in total control and ran a much more fair economy. I had nearly 1,000 royal guards that watched over the city I managed to build from the ground up using the natural resources from this mountain range. I murmur under my breath. That you stole. That I managed to take under control. The world is full of war and conquest. Only the strongest can call anything rightfully theirs. Unfortunately, the same thing I did to your new friends in the monastery is happening to me, but with a much less peaceful deal. My thousands of troops have been dwindled down to less than 50 remaining. Those guards you saw in the lobby are the Real Royal Guard under my command. The ones outside in the Platinum District and in the fight arena are being manipulated by the Dark One. They've been turned into ghouls, monsters in humans' armor, roaming the streets and pretending to protect the people. And you're hundreds of levels above me, with all the resources in the world. You can't handle this problem yourself. He nods slowly with a solemn expression. I've been trying to for months, but the issue is only getting worse. At my peak, I can handle one of those ghouls you took out in the arena if I went all out, but one or two may be my limit. The Royal Guards don't stand a chance. Every time they get into an altercation, the Dark One manages to turn more of my loyal men to its side. Your team, on the other hand, his eyes move back and forth between me and Maria. Your entire squad managed to control a power that may bring freedom back to my people and save my decade-long business venture. I thought by letting you win those stones in the auction, you'd go off and kill yourself trying to absorb them, and maybe I'd be able to pick up the leftovers for free. But to my pleasant surprise, I witnessed a team of barely ranked-up hunters take out 2 sector leaders like it was just another Tuesday. He laughs out loud while thinking back to it. I reply with an unamused tone. So what's your real offer here? Tell me what you really want me to do, and what you're giving us in return. His expression turns much more serious as well before responding. In exchange for granting you a permanent leadership position as the Sector 2 leader, funding to fix up the region, a team of craftsmen to fulfill orders, and access to high-grade dungeons in Valor City to train and get stronger. I ask that you and your team kill the Sector 1 leader and every last one of the corrupted Royal Guards. A million thoughts go racing through my mind as I scan the room with my perception skills and senses out of instinct. The first thing I notice is the extremely strong shielding that is constantly around Litha's body. It's packed with mana and scrambles my appraisal skill, but I'm certain there is no high concentration of chi within him. The fact that he mentioned he could take out one of the ghouls in the arena makes me think maybe there are other ways to defeat them than just the method I've been using. Or possibly he's absorbed some weaker kind of soulstone in his past. It's impossible to tell without viewing his status. Next, my thoughts go over the offer itself. The lightly tinted green mist that comes off of a person when they tell the truth under the gaze of my lie detector skill constantly pours out of Lith from the very start. He hasn't tried to deceive me one time. Considering my circumstances, if I refuse this offer, I'd just be on the run from the governments of 2 continents for the rest of my life. Just like Maria said back in the suite. There's no point in saying no other than the possible dangers of facing off against this mysterious Dark One, and the responsibility I'll have to take on for managing a massive trade region. I don't like the fact that Lith would be sending in hand-picked craftsmen to work under me, but that also means he doesn't know that I myself have the mythic-grade craftsmanship skill. If I were to take control of any project, I'd be the one picking the people that work for me exclusively. I don't want unknown eyes and ears to be where they don't need to be. Even with all downsides considered, this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become one of the strongest hunters in the world, both in political pull and raw power. I stay silent as my mind continues to race over the possibilities. More than a full minute passes before Lith interjects again. Of course, you don't have to accept on the spot. If you'd like to spend some time here in the city and use my resources to get stronger until Fisher and Lydia return with detailed intel, that is fine by me. However, I'll need an answer or counter offer in the next 3 days. We don't have much time.